Welcome to the Indianapolis 500 telecast presented by Firestone. I'm Lindsay Czarniak, and we are now moments away from the start of one of the premier events in all of sports. 33 fearless drivers, 200 action-packed laps around this hallowed racetrack. And once we have crowned a champion, I'll sit down with him or her tonight after on SportsCenter for the Sunday Conversation. But what happens before then is anyone's guess. The men who will take us through all 500 miles of this iconic race are standing by in the booth. Alan Bestwick, Eddie Cheever, and Scott Goodyear. They're ready. And guys, what will you be looking for today?
Yeah, a lot of action, Lindsay. Thank you. A minute away from more of the trackside traditions. Drivers to your cars. You were called there 16 times here, you 11. What does that bring to mind?
Right now, it's time to shut all this noise out. You have to calm yourself. You have to take all of your energy and aim it towards those first two laps, because you are truly on automatic. There is no plan that stands up when it comes to the start of this race.
I think all the planning that you had for this whole month actually goes away with the green flag. I think that's true to say. But for me, the emotion of making sure I don't make a mistake in turn one or the first lap. You talk about the first two laps. Very, very important. Trusting your engineer. Did he get all the settings right? Because the cars are going to be different today than the last practice day.
Now, these last few moments of tradition before the command to start engines. It's time for them now. Let's go back to Dave Calabro, trackside.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know him as the iconic anthem singer for the Chicago Blackhawks. Please welcome back Indiana University graduate Jim Cornelison to perform Back Home Again in Indiana.
Back home again in Indiana, and it seems that I can see the gleaming candlelight still shining bright through the sycamores for me. The newborn hay from the fields I used to roam. When I dream about the moonlight on the Wabash, then I long for my Indiana. home.
300,000 people. And now the focus on 33 drivers and their race teams lined up along the front stretch, a minute away from the command to start engines. The last 3 years of this race, we've seen an astounding amount of action at the front of the field, capped by 54 lead changes here a year ago. Scott, what kind of action are we going to see today?
I think we're going to see exactly the same thing. You know, the formula in these cars changed a few years ago. So now, instead of having somebody get to the end of the race and maybe leading towards the finish line by 5 or 10 seconds or maybe even a half a lap, today everybody's in clusters of cars. We've seen it for the last couple of years. We love it. I call confrontational passing. You just get up beside the guy. By the time you get into the turn, look for a lot of side-by-side running today, and drivers getting more diligent at the end about shutting the door on their competitors.
And action on pit road. It took a few drivers out of a chance to win a year ago. Will we see more of that today?
I think we will. It sounds really easy when they pit right after it closed pits. Everybody's at 50 miles an hour. You'd think they all came out together, but there's only 2 lanes that filter down to 1, and inevitably somebody will think there's room where there isn't. But I think the stewards today are going to be very careful at making sure there's no unnecessary contact, because it will end your race immediately, like we saw last year with Hunter Ray.
The final moment, alone with their thoughts. A lifetime goal and dream awaits at the end of the afternoon. The command to start engines coming up for the 101st running of the Indianapolis 500-mile race. Roger Penske with 5 entries in the field, looking to win his 17th 500-mile race as an entrant. Certainly one to keep an eye on this afternoon. His cars maybe haven't had the speed all month long, but they might have something up their sleeves for today. The front row, Dixon, Carpenter, and Rossi. And there's Montoya, the 2-time champion, laying deep in the field, waiting to see if he can make a run to the front. They've thought about it for a year. They've dreamed about it for a lifetime. Now is time to go pursue a win in the Indianapolis 500-mile race. The dignitaries are ready trackside to give the command to get the race underway.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Hallman & Company Chairman Tony George for the most famous words in motorsports.
Drivers, start your engine!
What an exciting moment. Ready for the start of the 101st Indianapolis 500. We introduced the starting field to you earlier. You'll see it again coming across the top of your screen as the field gets ready for the command to roll off, and this huge crowd comes to its feet with a big roar. There they go, led by the Honda 2-seater IndyCar. At the head of the field, driven by the 1969 winner Mario Andretti. To see more Honda racing content, go to racewithhonda.com. There's Mario. We have cameras on board 14 of the 33 cars in today's race. There's a Honda on board riding with James Davison as he subs for Sebastian Bourdais today. Harding Group is a new entrant. 2015's Rookie of the Race Gabby Chavez drives. And Joseph Newgarden's Verizon onboard includes that visor cam that we showed you earlier in our pre-race show. How cool is this going to be?
Oh, that's real life, guys. I'll tell you, that's like just being in the cockpit.
Wait till they're going 230 miles an hour.
Newgarden part of a very interesting row 8 that includes last year's series champ Simon Pagenaud and last year's runner-up Carlos Munoz, who always seems to shine his best here at Indy. We'll ride today with 3-time winner Helio Castroneves, starting in 19th position.
This is his 8th attempt at being only the 4th man to win Indy 500 4 times.
Can he join that club today? Jan Beekes?
And Helio Castroneves is, of course, starting the farthest back he's ever started in the 500. But he said earlier, we have since found some speed. And I like my chances in the race and to win my 4th Indy 500. He ended up being the fastest car in the final practice and says, I love the way the car works in traffic, but admitted, oh boy, I've got to be patient, especially on the start.
All right, John, thanks. James Hinchcliffe carries our Lucas Oil camera. He'll try to quick step his way up from row 6. Subtle pun for those of you dancing fans. Graham Rahal's Steak and Shake camera also includes visor cam today.
Remember that feeling, Eddie, coming around for the parade laps, looking at all the people there. This is when you realize that this is a biggest event in the world.
It's hard to explain what it feels like sitting in the car with that many people.
And the big roar for the huge American flag coming down the front straightaway. More of of our onboard looks for you. The 2014 winner, Ryan Hunter-Reay, has the AutoNation camera starting in row 4 today. Check out row 3, some really good candidates for the win here.
Oh, a very strong row with Marco Andretti. Remember how close he was in his rookie year in 2006? Put him in the contention today. 71 starts for the Andretti family, but only 1 victory with Mario in 1969.
All 3 of those cars in that row 3 have onboard cameras. Will Power, the series' most recent winner, with a Verizon camera. And AutoNation on board with Marco Andretti, who seemed very loose and relaxed this week, likes his chances. And Tony Kanaan with the NTT Data camera, the 2013 winner.
Tony is always a great crowd favorite, but let's keep our eye on him, because if he's in that last group on that last sprint, he is a master at restarts, as he showed us when he won his Indy 500.
Fernando Alonso carries the McLaren on board from the middle of row number 2. The Spaniard has accomplished a lot in his Formula One career and now wants to add an Indianapolis 500 win to that resume. Rick DeBrule.
Well, Alan, we've talked a lot about the fact that he's a world champion, one of the greatest race car drivers of all time. But when the green flag flies here at Indy, he's just a rookie. He's going to have to figure out restarts. He's going to have to figure out pit stops. He's going to have to figure out traffic. Now, he's had some great advice this week. He's doing a great job. It's going to test his championship skills. He says he's as prepared as he can possibly be, but he also admits that for the Indy 500, even that may not be enough.
Of course, Alonso from Spain, the Spanish version of our race, presented by ESPN Deportes, is accessed by using the SAP function on your remote control. Last year's winner, Alexander Rossi, has an AutoNation camera today and starts on the outside of the front row. Remember, only 5 times has the race been won back-to-back. There'll be a lot of cheers for Ed Carpenter today. We ride with him from the middle of row 1, Doc.
And folks, if you're looking for a small team that may be able to hang with the heavyweights, how about front row starter Ed Carpenter? Ed grew up right here in Indianapolis, just blocks from the Speedway. Started coming here when he was 8 years old, and yes, he knows every word to back home again in Indiana. He graduated from nearby Butler University. In fact, won a support race here 2 weeks later. His small family-owned team is headquartered right across the street. They employ less than 40 people. You can take a cell phone picture of the entire team in the parking lot. And here he is once again on the front row of the biggest race of the world. Now, folks, think about it. Here on Memorial Day weekend, here's an American-born, Indiana-bred driver powered by a Chevy engine chasing his childhood dream. It just doesn't get any more red, white, and blue than that. Alan?
He's a great one to watch today. We'll also ride with the pole sitter, Scott Dixon, and his Honda on board. When he won the race in 2008, he also started from the number 1 spot, Jan.
Yes, of course, Scott Dixon is one of 18 today with Honda Power. And Honda Power has been incredibly fast. Unfortunately, Honda has lost 8 engines, 8 engine failures here in the month of May. So there's no question Honda has the speed, but there's a definite question as to whether they can go 500 miles.
All right, Jan. And these long straightaways will definitely stress those engines. Our Firestone track facts, 5/8 of a mile down each of the straightaways here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. They built the track to be the toughest proving ground for automobiles they could on the piece of land that they had. It's a long haul. Actor Jeffrey Dean Morgan, Walking Dead, Grey's Anatomy, and more. He's driving the pace car today. There he is. It's a Chevrolet Corvette Grand Sport. Go to Chevy.com/Grand Sport for more. All of those onboard cameras we just showed you, in addition to our ABC telecast, you can find on the ESPN app, all race long, if you'd like to ride with your favorite driver. And so here we come to the green flag. Actor Jake Gyllenhaal and Boston Marathon bombing victim Jeff Bowman, you saw earlier, will wave the twin green flags. 11 rows of 3 ready to start. The Indianapolis 500-mile race. It'll be exciting. Let's see who wins. inside of Carpenter for second as Scott Dixon leads. Carpenter back on willpower. Tony Kanaan going to look to the inside. 54 lead changes in this race a year ago. How many will we have today?
Everybody's finally in line, Scott.
Most important part, get through turn one, as we've always talked about. Also the first lap. I just remember the experience here being a rookie. I think about the 4 rookies we have in the field today, especially Fernando. Now there's some stuff going on, guys, that's not the time to do it. Just a couple of laps into the race.
That was Montoya and Jay Howard on the back straightaway.
This is the part of the race where you have to get into a rhythm quickly because you have a long way to go.
This is also the first laps you understand what type of car that the engineers have given you. We talk about the different track conditions, the different weather conditions. So now you're driving along with something that you need to settle into and figure out whether your car's working for you or whether you need to settle into a rhythm yourself as a driver. Very difficult to do.
Third place, Kanaan by willpower. Tell you what, going into that first couple of corners, Tony Kanaan made a couple of really aggressive moves on the start, determined to make 20 the race where he might win again at Indianapolis.
Starts and restarts are what Kanaan is probably one of the best at.
You know, and speaking to him, he knew he didn't have the greatest car in qualifying, as we right now see Rossi going in and making a move. These guys are aggressive very early on in the race. Helio Castroneves you ride along with now. He's coming up through the field. He said he wants to be back up at the front and in the lead by about lap 100. And he's got some great teachers in his camp to help with that, including Rick Mears, who used to be the master at making sure he had a great car ready for the end of the race.
And a quick update on Alonso. He got shuffled back a little bit, but he's still hanging on to the 8th place car ahead of him.
Back to 9th place for Alonso. Not surprising that he would drop back for a while. I use the Kurt Busch model as an example as TK goes for 2nd place. And Rossi and Power. Rossi comes away with that spot. I used the Kurt Busch model a couple of years ago, right? Didn't know, came over from NASCAR to run the 500, never ran an IndyCar race before, dropped back in the field. But as he got comfortable and they adjusted the car, came forward, and wound up finishing in the 6th position as Rossi goes by Carpenter and picks up a spot. Alonso update from Rick.
I just want to make the point, you know, you talk about all the things he has to think about. Just as they were going out on that last pace lap, they had to remind him twice what fuel map to be on. There's a little dial on his dash, on his steering wheel. He has to turn it to be on the right one. They said, okay, go to 5. No, you're an 8, go to 5. So even at the last moment, they were having to work with him to get him just right.
Wow. Willpower made J.R. Hildebrand work for that spot. Hildebrand, 21, Power 12. Now Marco Andretti, 27. Goes after Willpower, this for 6th place. And a new leader, Tony Kanaan, is by Scott Dixon to the number 1 spot.
Now let's remember, they are teammates, and if they start working together, they can actually put some distance between the cars that are behind them.
Doc?
These teammates you were talking about, Dixon and Kanaan, are the lightest on downforce of any of the heavyweight teams at the beginning of the race. They knew they would be fast. The question is, would they be able to stay there for quite a while when the track got slicker and the tires got worn? By the way, Carpenter's team, mid-range downforce, but Rossi and the Team Andretti cars, the highest downforce we've seen among the heavy teams. Again, Ganassi's guys light on downforce, the Andretti cars heavy on downforce.
The car that's really impressive right now is Rossi. He is very quick and right behind the first 2 Ganassis.
Be worth watching, but we're very early on in this Indianapolis 500-mile race. One pass for the lead. Here it was a minute ago from onboard Dixon's car, as his Chip Ganassi Racing teammate Tony Kanaan drafts by into turn 3. You won't miss a thing in our ABC side-by-side.
The 101st Indianapolis 500 telecast on ABC, presented by Firestone. Firestone, whatever you drive a Firestone.
A clean start to the 101st Indianapolis 500-mile race, caution-free so far, and Tony Kanaan is the race leader after Scott Dixon led the opening 5 laps. Just look at some of the people that have moved up and some of the people that might have slipped back in the opening laps of the race. Carlos Munoz, remember we talked about that interesting row 8, picked up 8 spots, and of course Kanaan moving all the way to the front from his starting position of 7th.
You saw Davidson on there, 18, the substitute for Sebastian Bourdais. Remember, just a couple of practice sessions into the car for qualifying. Wasn't here for a week and a half testing like everybody else. Very impressive run for him with the Dale Coyne car.
If Ganassi has a team plan, and this is what we see is what they're being executed at right now, they really are working well together. They keep passing the lead one with the other, so they can get some distance and they can save some fuel. But the one who's I'm really following is Alonso right now, because he's working his way up to the front. He's got to get behind the first 3 cars.
Well, what I'm watching with him, it looks like his car is working better in turns 1 and 2. He gets close to Marco Andretti. That's the 27 car, the blue and white one, just in front of him. Watch this. He'll come off of turn 2. He seems like he works well through this area here, but he starts to lose a little bit down there in 3 and 4. He doesn't have enough of a run out of any of these turns to be able to get up and make the pass before he gets to the next end of the racetrack.
Let's not forget, Andretti's getting a draft from the car ahead of him, so it's not like he's sitting out there by himself. He sure is working the gearbox a lot. Got a good run this time.
Probably up a gear. There he goes. Is he close enough? Possibly. Teammate ahead. He'll rethink it, though. Good job sitting back and just learning. Off the throttle and pace yourself. Long time to go in this race, Fernando.
We talked about some of the people moving up in the opening laps of the race. Some of the people sliding back include Will Power. There he is. Power is all the way back now in 11th position. He started in 9th, moved up, remember, in the opening few laps, and then we saw him lose 3 or 4 spots in successive laps. How about the 12 car, Doc?
Well, all he has said on the radio is that the car is very, very neutral and the tires seem to be going away, meaning he's losing grip. He made the passes. He settled in. He really hasn't complained about the car. However, I will tell you that when he climbed out of the car on carb day with this setup, he told me that's as loose as I've ever driven a race car. And loose is not going to be good early on in traffic. Now, neutral right now means he doesn't have a real good right rear, doesn't feel the back of the car. And Will Power is a driver who likes to feel the back of the car. According to Myron Boslog, his strategist, he's just settling in right now so we can make some adjustments.
All right, Doc, Will Power, we have ESPN race strategists. We have folks who are race engineers in our booth here with us that are using some of the same telemetry and software that the race teams use to figure out where they're at. Right now, Will Power is the 16th fastest car on the racetrack as they run, and again, he runs in 11th position.
I can't think of anything I'd rather not have at the start of Indianapolis 500 than a neutral car. A neutral car is a car that wants to spin, that you're going to lose grip from the back end. When you're starting the Indy 500, you want to have a car that does exactly the opposite, that has a little bit of push, which means if anything loses grip, it's the front. When you have push, you can always adjust with the steering wheel. Neutral is something they're going to have to fix.
A little deeper into the field look. That's Connor Daly passing Oriol Servia. Daly in the red, white, and blue 4 car for A.J. Foyt Racing. Servia for the Rahal Letterman Lanigan team. Slipping back 1. Here's Rossi looking like he had a line on Scott Dixon for a moment.
You saw him get low below the white line. He's trying to get his wheels as close to the inside as possible to get part of his car exposed from the car in front, because what you want to do is get some clean air going to the wings, to the inlets, and to the under tray, meaning the car is going to have more grip in the turns. And if you follow the driver's line directly ahead, well, then the car might start to slide. So smart move by Alexander Rossi.
There'll probably be no petals left on those flowers by the end of the race. Turbulence coming off a 220-mile-an-hour race car exiting turn 4 at the Indianapolis 500. The Indianapolis 500-mile race, our telecast today presented by Firestone. The tires on all 33 cars in the field today. Riding with Joseph Newgarden and our visor cam.
That is exactly what it looks like when you're sitting in a race car. All you have to have is a a baseball bat behind you that you spin. That's what it feels like when you hit something. But that is incredible. I feel like I'm sitting in the car.
Well, the thing is that we're in an air-conditioned area right now, and we can go get a drink if we want to. So it's a little bit different, but the buffeting the driver's feeling right now with that 220-mile-an-hour air coming on it. Listen to the breathing going on, coming up to the cars directly ahead. Now what you're thinking about is timing the pass. Very cool.
Second place, Alexander Rossi by Scott Dixon.
Right now, from what we've seen, I would say that Alexander Rossi is probably, if not the fastest car, definitely the most aggressive.
So pit stops, pit crews, pit strategy always plays a big role in the 500, any automobile race actually, as Alonso goes after J.R. Hildebrand for a spot
on the outside.
He's pedaling that, boys. It's moving up to the wall.
Downshifting, pedaling, everything. He just passed his first car on the outside going into one.
Yeah, and his heart rate just went up about 40 beats a minute.
Alonso up to fifth. So I started to talk about pit stops. Let's check with Jan Beekes on what to expect, how many stops, pit windows, that kind of thing. Jan?
Well, your timing is very good because we're working lap 26, and in a few laps you'll see those who are not saving fuel come onto pit road. Where you look at Alexander Rossi there, you look at these groups like Ed Carpenter, they're running in a draft and they're saving fuel. They could probably go, as Carpenter looks to the inside, these cars that are saving fuel can probably go to lap 31. 30, 31 today, possibly 32, but we'll see people on pit road 28 or 29. Those are the ones that are not in a draft. Those are the ones that have had to use more fuel to keep up. People like this, Fernando Alonso, he's in the kind of position where he can save fuel. We'll see the strategy by when they hit pit road.
Now let's watch him how he sets up the car in front of him.
You see Dixon's cars moving all over. It just does that, what we call that waddling going into the turn. It's loose. That is a neutral car loose, and only a veteran like him would hold on to that. Oh, it's an amazing drive right there by Scott Dixon.
Alonso to fourth.
Yeah. So it's now fourth.
Guys, Dixon's on the verge of crashing that car. How he's holding on, I don't know.
So the pole sitter now under attack from J.R. Hildebrand in that 21. Up front, Rossi has pulled up on the back of Kanaan for the lead. Dixon holds off Hildebrand just for a second. Pit stops. First one, Spencer Pigot comes in. And Tony Kanaan comes in from the race lead.
Straight in, stop at the sign.
Here he is, Doc.
Tony Kanaan coming in. We told you that he and his teammate Scott Dixon were very, very light on downforce. They've told Kanaan we are going to add, or going to make a tire pressure adjustment. I mean, they're probably going to lower the tire pressure. 4 tires going on, getting it full of Sunoco fuel. Wait. 7.9 seconds. The first stop for Tony Kanaan, and an air pressure change. Whoa, trying to get out in line to exit pit road.
I mentioned this just as a looking ahead. Last year, 4 drivers had their chance to win this race, lost with contact with other cars on pit road.
Pit road is really tricky.
Here's Rossi, and Pagano looked like he was coming to pit road and ducked back out onto the racetrack. We'll follow up on that in a minute, Doc.
Here's last year's winner, Alexander Rossi, and I told you that the Andretti Autosport cars, this one in particular, started with very, very heavy downforce, but no matter. This car was starting to slide a little bit on its own, so they're going to make an air pressure change, as well as a front wing change, as he is now leaving. We're trying to help a bit of understeer. Front wing change for our pole sitter, 4 tires, and air pressure for Rick.
Well, Fernando Alonso they asked him on the radio just a little bit earlier, how's the car, how's the balance? He said it's fine. He really has not talked much on the radio. Remember, at the very beginning, he got shuffled back. He started 5th, got shuffled back. This is going to be his very first pit stop in an IndyCar. Brings it to a stop relatively slowly, but nicely. Now the job is to get these guys, who don't regularly do this during the season, have been put together for this run, into a nice, clean pit stop, and they do that. Doc?
Ed Carpenter, remember, folks, he went 1 lap longer than anyone else that was up front. They made an air pressure change, no wing adjustments at all on Carpenter's car. He's away.
J.R. Hildebrand took the lead when Ed Carpenter pitted. Now Hildebrand is on the pit lane. That'll hand the top spot for the moment to Juan Pablo Montoya. Doc?
J.R. Hildebrand coming down pit road. He said the same thing we heard from Dixon and from Kanaan and from Carpenter. I'm loose. They asked him again, said, no, I'm real loose. So they're going to make a significant adjustment. Watch the crew now going to work. Will they make a front wing change, or will it all be air pressure? They said air pressure. No wing, waiting on fuel. Good pit stop. 7.1 seconds for Hildebrand.
Jay Howard is slow on the back straightaway. Does not appear to be underpowered. Did they run it out of fuel? He's made that access road on the inside of turns 3 and 4. We stay under green for the moment. Jan?
And this is a very late stop for Juan Pablo Montoya. That is good news. If he can go this far, that's great news for fuel economy. I can tell you that the other Penske teammate, Castro Neves, had a smoking fast stop. He got all his Sunoco fuel and out of here in 7 seconds, but this is going long. This is now 11, 12, 13 seconds for Montoya. It appears as though he has stalled it. They're having to refire. Oh, so he gained all that track and saved the fuel, but unfortunately, he's done this before. He's gone to the back and won this race, and now he's got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. Jay Howard continuing to try and make his way toward the pit lane. Howard, the 36-year-old, originally from England, now in Indianapolis, as Ed Carpenter and Alexander Rossi battle for the lead off the exchange of pit stops.
Direct battle between Chevy and Honda. It'll be interesting to see who's quickest at the end of the straight.
And Howard makes the pit road entry, so we stay under green. Okay, so through the first pit stops, through the first run of the race, caution-free so far. And the new leader is Ed Carpenter, started on the middle of row number 1, the Indianapolis native, who wants more than anything to win at this racetrack. He's been around it his whole life. He's part of the family that owns and operates the Speedway. Today he's a driver, and he wants to kiss some bricks at the end of the afternoon.
The 101st Indianapolis 500 telecast on ABC, presented by Firestone. Firestone, we don't just make tires, we make champions.
There is a new leader in the Indianapolis 500-mile race. It is Fernando Alonso. He has gone to the front a lap, now 2 laps ago. Here's the pass.
A brilliant move, timed perfectly, going past his teammate Alexander Rossi on the inside, preferred place to pass. Nice smooth move, not too far down the white line. Probably made some changes in the pit stop, I think, Eddie, to make that car work as well as it is.
Obviously, what they did to the car, if maybe the tire pressure change or whatever, has given him confidence, but he is definitely learning so fast. I think we are in the process of watching the perfect execution. This is unbelievable. I'm sitting here, I'm aghast. I can't find words to describe what he's managed to do in so few laps, Alan.
Well, the words you told us during the commercial, I'm going to bring back for you. You said, this is genius at work.
It's amazing. He's modified his line. He's learned the line to run when he's behind other people. He was perfect in his timing of the passes. He fell back in the beginning, very much like Rick Mears would do, and then he just worked his way up the field. Now what he has to do is start working with Rossi to try to save some fuel.
Let's check with Rick DeBrule.
Well, Jay Howard is just having a miserable day. Remember, this is his first Indy 500 since 2011. The team believes he ran out of fuel. They pushed him just a little too far, and as a result of running out of fuel, that's caused some other problems they're trying to catch up to. So once again, they're having some problems. Now let's talk about Fernando Alonso. In that last stop, you guys were speculating what kind of changes were made. All they did, I just checked with Michael Andretti, all they did was change the tire pressure. They did not make any changes to the wing, anything else. So all they've done is tire pressure. And once again, he's talking very little on the radio.
All right, Rick. So there is. It was Scott Dixon back in 7th place.
Trying to make some space up there. Remember, we had a report earlier that there is a light downforce load on the Ganassi cars and more of a downforce load on the Andretti cars. When we talk about downforce, that tells you how much grip the cars will have in the turns. And as the track is fresh here, as we call it green, sometimes cars with more downforce are easier to drive, gives you more confidence. We're seeing Andretti cars out front right now. Maybe the Ganassi teams will change during pit stops to make their cars have a bit more grip so they can battle back up towards the front.
Hunter Ray, Marco Andretti, and that was Sebastian Saavedra, 17. As up front, Rossi goes back around Alonso for the lead.
That's perfect. They need to do that as many times as they can, because when you're out there by yourself, you're burning too much fuel, Scott. You have to work. When you have a teammate and both cars are running as well as these two are, you have to leapfrog one to the other, and you can do that without creating any turbulence for the car that you're passing. Whereas if you're passing somebody aggressively, once you've gone by them, you move your car up in front of where theirs is, and you just give them a whole bunch of dirty air, and you put distance between them and yourself. Something you'd probably do later in the race than this early.
But everything that we're talking about is a learning curve for Fernando Alonso. You know, I think about how many times drivers come here, Eddie, doesn't matter what discipline they're in, and they never lead a lap at the Indianapolis 500. Fernando Alonso, obviously a two-time world champion. We would expect to be up front, but he's already led his very first Indy 500.
He's not here for money. He gets paid $40 million a year, I heard, in Formula One. So he's not here for the money. He has a car that's uncompetitive in Formula One. He's here because he has a chance to win. And this place is scary for anybody, but he's taken to it like a duck takes to water. What he's done in these first few laps is, I'm looking at somebody that's been racing here for 10 years. And he has other things to do. There's other things he has to prepare himself for, but I'm sure he has enough understanding of it right now to deal with just about any adversity the track can send his way. And look at Rossi. Rossi is not the driver we looked at last year. We didn't even consider him for the win. Last year, he's been up at the front since the beginning. He's galvanized and quick.
So Rossi leading, Alonso is second. This on the 29, Alonso's radio a minute ago.
Just Alex. You and Alex are going to be able to play here, so go to position 7 on fuel now. Wheel 7.
That's what you were talking about them trying to go back and forth a little bit, Eddie, and save some fuel and extend their range while they have a little separation from everybody else.
And that voice you heard on the radio is none other than Michael Andretti, the team owner and one of the fastest men to ever sit in a car here at Indianapolis. So he's going to have some great information headed his way to Fernando's ear all throughout this race.
And he was very unlucky as a driver at Indy 500, but he's been quite the opposite as an owner.
Beginning to get some company up front. Not only are they catching some cars they're going to put a lap down, but Takuma Sato in that blue and white car with the green striping is closing in on the front too to try and make this a three-way fight for the lead.
And did we say that all three of those cars are Andretti's?
You just did.
Andretti's powered by Hondas. Very impressive.
Across 100 miles already in the Indianapolis 500, still caution-free. Alexander Rossi, last year's winner, currently leads. Sometimes you're the windshield, sometimes you're the bug.
Yeah, no kidding.
One of those things. Graham Rahal and Visor Cam. As we come back to the Indianapolis 500-mile race, telecast presented by Firestone. We're just past a quarter distance. And in our side-by-side coverage, you saw Fernando Alonso get past Alexander Rossi and now put a little gap on him. So Alonso out in front once again. Verizon IndyCar Series next moves on to Detroit and a pair of races at Belle Isle. The Detroit Grand Prix next Saturday and Sunday, both here on ABC at 3:30 Eastern Time. That's a quick, tough little street course. Drivers will have their hands full. Some long straightaways, some caution. Turn 2. Trouble. Oh my goodness, what a huge crash. Scott Dixon is in it. Jay Howard is the other car involved. Dixon and Jay Howard. There is Dixon. Look at that car. It is destroyed.
There's nothing left of the back. That sawed the engine in half.
Safety crew there working with Jay Howard.
He's out, guys.
Good to see Jay Howard climb from that car. Wow. Let's show you what happened. Bizarre would be, I guess, a good word for it based on this first look.
Was also okay.
Boy, this is just bad timing on Dixon's part and incredible fortune with the way this car lands on top of the wall.
Or he's incredibly fortunate.
On the top right there. On the top load.
He had nowhere to go, absolutely nowhere to go, and it landed exactly the way you don't want a car to land on a guardrail. He was just so lucky that the hard part of the car did not land 3 feet farther back.
There is an incredible amount of debris over in that part of the corner. Being told by race control they may be going to the red flag here and will be going to the red flag to clean up the racetrack. But an awful crash. Jay Howard hits the wall first. Scott Dixon with no place to go. Was that Castroneves that went under Dixon?
It does, and he runs over some debris.
Oh, man. He's so lucky. So lucky.
The safety cell that Scott Dixon sits in saved his life. I don't think that's an overstatement. Red flag out in the Indianapolis 500. Thankfully, both drivers climbed out and walked away. Back live at the Indianapolis 500. The field stopped on the pit lane. We are under the red flag after a terrible crash between turns 1 and 2. Scott Dixon, Jay Howard. Dixon's car just ripped apart, though fortunately he climbed from the car okay. You see the hole that it put in the safety fencing, and that is the reason for the red flag, to clean up the debris and to fix that safety fencing that protects those who sit behind it.
He doesn't really use the safety fencing. He lands on top of it.
Obviously, part of the car got into it to rip it open, right?
Yes, but he landed. Yeah. Oh I have never witnessed an accident like that.
You know, we talked about the number 3 of Elio Castroneves going underneath Scott Dixon's car. Remember, it was Elio a few years ago that ended up going airborne between turns 1 and 2 and walked away from that incident as well. We see how Scott Dixon was thrown around inside the cockpit of the car. All these drivers are so physically fit. He works out here locally as we ride along on board. Ooh.
This is from Castro Neves.
He went right under it. There are so many things that had to go perfectly, Scott, to have the result that we did of nobody getting hurt.
So I just want to show you where Dixon's car hit, and you see this safety barrier here that's all behind. Let's see if I can do this right. All this safety area here where there was no one standing, and that's why it's there. And so you saw the one photographer scamper out of the way, but boy, what just an incredibly nasty crash for Scott Dixon. And again, he did climb from the car and walk away. We'll obviously get a word with him when we're able to, but we're under the red flag for the repairs to that safety fencing. And wow, what a moment here at the Indianapolis 500. Back after this from your ABC station. The Indianapolis 500-mile race under the red flag. Just after a quarter of the distance completed, Fernando Alonso is the leader. The red flag for a terrible crash between turns 1 and 2 after Jay Howard bounced off the outside wall, had no control over his car because the right front suspension was collapsed in steering, and Scott Dixon came along, had no place to go, went up over the top of Howard's car into the inside safety fencing. Both drivers have climbed from their machines and have gone for further checkup. But watch the photographer in the white vest and the red hat on the inside here, right where Dixon's car comes to rest and pierces the safety fencing. So safety officials did attend to that photographer. There you see him talking with those around him. He's texting as well and so on as we watched. And he has been taken also for examination after possibly being struck by some of the debris from that accident. Dr. Jerry Punch is at the Infield Medical Center for us.
And Jay Howard has walked out. Jay, a couple of impacts, first in the wall, then the secondary impact, with Scott Dixon. First of all, are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. Yeah, no, credit to IndyCar, Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the Moltro safety team, Delara, everyone that's involved in building this car. Obviously, I'm fine. It's thanks to them. I'm really glad Scott's okay, as he was a victim of this. So, it sucks.
What happened with your car? It looked like we were talking about some suspension issue in the front.
I'm not sure about that. We ended up a couple of laps down. We ran out of fuel in the first stint, so that kind of put us a couple of laps down. And yeah, we were out there just trying to pick off some laps and see if we get some yellows and maybe try and salvage something from a race. And Hunter Ray comes, gets a run on me. I lift to let him go, try and be the nice guy. And he moves right over on me and puts me out in all the grey and all the marbles, and rest is history, and he causes a massive accident. So, to say I'm unhappy is an understatement.
We saw Scott Dixon's car coming up behind you. Could you see on your left side mirror his car approaching, or did it happen too quickly?
No, it all happened way too quickly. I let Hunter Ray go, and then I tried to slot in behind him, but he had pushed me out in the marbles, and I was just a passenger at that point.
Glad you're okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Alan?
All right, Doc. You can hear the disappointment in Jay Howard's voice. Let's go show you Hunter Ray and Jay Howard in turn 1.
And for Jay, he's already on the outside just a little bit, guys. Those right side wheels are out of the black. That's where all the rubber is. That's where the grip is. And he said, a passenger, I've used that term for many years. When you get into that situation, you are a passenger. As you mentioned, Alan, he hits the wall. The suspension is then broken on the right front, and he just comes across the track, and unfortunately, Scott Dixon collects him.
Now you could see Howard's left front wheel turned all the way to the right as he tried to keep the car up against the wall, but he was just hanging on. And again, fortunately, Dixon climbed from his car. We saw that, and we look forward to being able to hear from him when possible. Red flag, IndyCar officials said maybe 5 minutes ago now that it would be 15 minutes before the race resumed, so we're working toward a resumption of the race. Wow, what a moment. What a moment for Scott Dixon. The Indianapolis 500 telecast presented by Firestone. From the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, just past the 1/4 mark of the race and under the red flag for that terrible crash between turns 1 and 2. The work to effect repairs to the safety fencing, the debris fencing is ongoing by the Speedway crew. You see they have prefabricated panels all prepared and are being attached and put in place, and the drivers should be back out on the Speedway fairly shortly to resume the race. We've heard from Jay Howard. He talked about Ryan Hunter-Reay as well. Another look at the beginnings of this incident.
A lot of traffic up ahead, and Jay Howard's probably just pedaling back, knowing he can't get any passing done. And on the inside of him, Ryan Hunter-Reay comes in, probably surprises the 77 of Jay Howard, and just enough he couldn't get it down to the apex, down by the center by the white line. He was on the outside, and as he said, up in the gray area. Not an opportunity then to have any grip on the racetrack.
Let me just add something to that. Just giving the car that's trying to pass you room on the bottom is only half of the equation. You're better off if you get off the throttle earlier so that you have time to get in behind him. He had nowhere to go. He was in the gray, but he was in the gray because he probably should have slowed down a little bit. Put the distance between Dixon and himself and filtered back in. If you have 2 wheels in the black, you're okay. But if you're all 4 tires in the gray, it's like slipping on water. You have no grip. There's nothing you can do. Like you said, you are a passenger.
Well, and I think your point's taken, but I also think Ryan Hunter-Reay came on the inside of him. I don't think Jay Howard was expecting it, and in turn, so when he got going into the turn, you're already trying to turn the race car. There was really no place for him to go. I think Jay said that.
Howard said that in his interview. He said, I gave him all the room he needed. He gave him all the room he needed too late. You need to give him room earlier so you can get in behind. You have to take, he says he's being Mr. Nice Guy, and I understand that. But if you're going to let a car go by, do it early. That's what Rossi and Alonso were doing. They were passing each other, but they knew it was going to happen. So the one that was in front being passed lifted his foot off the throttle and filtered him behind.
Yeah, I'm not so certain that Jay wasn't trying to express that the pass came so late into the turn.
Well, let's look at it now.
And by the way, just watch the cars in front of them too. They're side by side and a pass going on just in front of Jay Howard that Hunter-Reay might run up on.
And that's what I said originally, that he was getting back out of it, did the right thing, the smart thing. I think
But see how late he is? Look how late he is.
Well, when you're on the outside, you're just soft pedaling. If the car works well, you can get off the throttle in a large amount, but he probably was just trying to creep the thing down there because he was so much into the turn. So I understand your point. I just think that Ryan Hunter-Reay, being aggressive as he was, thinks he did the right thing. I think Jay Howard, if he wasn't surprised, yes, he could have got out of the throttle sooner. But either way, those guys are, Jay Howard's out of the race, unfortunately.
We saw what the end result was.
All right, so the drivers are being told that the fence repair is nearing an end, and they'll be able to resume the race momentarily. Just a terrible crash. We've heard from Jay Howard. Scott Dixon, we saw climb from his machine, but a car that hits the top of the wall
with the open cockpit side of the car.
Just an incredible crash. And the 2008 winner of this race suffering that ride after starting on pole position. And again, we'll hear from Scott whenever possible. 3 minutes approximately until the engines are restarted. We're back after this from your ABC station.
We are back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. This horrific crash moments ago produced a red flag. Jay Howard's car comes across. That's the 4-time champion Scott Dixon, who launches and is airborne. His car contacts the wall with the right side, spins around and comes to rest. Howard's car also just about 30 feet away. The good news, both drivers have walked out, and now here is Scott Dixon out of the Care Center. Scotty, Jay Howard told us you were okay, but let's ask you, how are you?
Yeah, just a little beaten up there. It was definitely a bit of a rough ride, but I'm bummed for the team, man. Bummed for Camping World. I think we had a great shot. We got a little loose on the first stint there, but they dialed it in. We were starting to make some progress, And overall, I think we're just a little bit light on downforce, but I think for later on in the race, that would have been the right move to have. But yeah, I'm just bummed for them, man. Glad everybody was okay. It was definitely a wild ride for sure, and big thanks to Dallara and everybody, for the safety standards that we have right now.
We saw you moving around in the car. What's it like? We know that you're okay now. When you hit Howard and the car launched in the air, what are you seeing? What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's tough. I think when you make those decisions, of which way to go, you're hoping that the car, I was hoping that Jay was going to stay against the wall, but obviously with the impact it then started to turn down. But I'd already picked that, that way to go, and there was nowhere else to try and avoid him. So I'm glad he's okay too. And it's just a wild ride, man. You just hold on, and believe in the safety, progress that we've had over, the last many years.
Well, now that we know you're okay, let's talk about the race, which you wanted to talk about when you came out. Getting ready to go back here and make some pit stops. Does your teammate, Tony Kanaan, have something, for the other cars?
Yeah, I think, as I said just before, I think we started a little light. I struggled and dropped back on the first stint. TK, I could see he was starting to come back too in that second one there. But, I think, come towards the end of the race as the track rubbers up, as the ambient maybe helps us with this cold cover, it's, hopefully TK's got a good shot here. But we'll have to see. There's some great competitors out there, and, big thanks to all the fans. It's amazing to race at this place. I love coming here and can't wait for next year.
We love having you here, and we're so thankful you're okay, Scott.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Thanks, bud.
Scott Dixon able to walk away from that crash, and that just shows you how hard they have worked, Alan, on the safety of these cars.
And Doc Scott's attitude and his comments there express what separates a race driver from most of us, that he can have an accident like that and step outside and say, I can't wait to come back next year.
He just acted like he's barely sprained his ankle. I don't think he's actually seen it in the video. He is such a calm cookie, isn't he?
And you take into account that when he left the racetrack earlier in the week to go through drive-through to get some food for the team, he was held up at gunpoint just down the road from the Speedway. And talking to Tony Kanaan, Tony said when Scott told him about it, it was just like, I went down there, had this problem. And Tony said it was almost like he was telling me he had a flat tire and he had to change it and just come back.
I'm going to celebrate that accident because so many bad things could have happened, and yet everything that had been engineered did exactly what it should have done. And that is such a testament to the work that the Dallara engineers and the safety wall and the fencing and everything that goes into making this safe. I'm celebrating the result. I think that was great.
With good reason. So 18:39-minute red flag. The pit road was closed this time. Pits will be open this coming time. Helio Castroneves' team, remember we saw him go across the grass under Dixon's car and perhaps sustain some damage that might need to be repaired by the Penske team. Jan?
Yes, you can see those pieces coming off the rear of Helio Castroneves' car. What's going to happen here? Under a red flag condition, none of the crews can do any work on the cars. Now they're going to open the pits, as you just documented. They can make repairs. No one up and down pit road who was stopped had any repairs. If you did, you'd be moved to the rear of the field. This is an opportunity now for Helio Castroneves and a few others to make changes. They will not be penalized. This will be a standard, if you want to call it, yellow flag stop. I expect nearly everyone, if not everyone, to hit pit road, gas up, Firestone tires, and get repairs if need be.
And another one of these things Alonso has not experienced yet, a yellow flag pit stop here in Indianapolis. He has the advantage of being the race leader. Here they come. We'll see who comes off pit road with the #1 spot. Rick?
Well, Fernando Alonso was talking about a little bit of understeer in the car. They were having a debate as to whether he said, I'd like a little more wing, and they're like, we're not quite sure we want to do that, but they've had a discussion about it. Overall, he's very happy. He said during that last stint, actually, that the car got better as it went along. He rolled the car very slowly to the stop. Once again, things going smoothly. No wing adjustment, it looks like. Now we're going to go to Takuma Sato, who's also doing very well. No changes to Sato's car. Doc?
Half a turn of front wing in Alexander Rossi's car. A little bit of an understeer. They did a half a turn on the previous stop. Helped a lot. Whoa, near contact on pit road. But Rossi gets another half turn to help the understeer in the corner.
There's our Honda race off pit road. The Honda of Fernando Alonso holds the top spot. So we documented some of the work that Helio Castroneves might need to have done, and that finding the pit stall and getting away from the pit stall easier because Alonso is the leader. But then when other cars start coming out, there you see the trickier spots on the pit lane that these drivers have encountered. Remember, in the race a year ago, 4 times there was contact on pit road that ruined people's races. So I want to get your heads back into this game now. You're a driver. You know there was a bad crash. You sat there for 18.5 minutes under the red flag. How quickly and how easily to get your mind back into that rhythm you had before on the racetrack?
I think it's just something that you do naturally. It's really hard to stop a race and then start it again after a red flag, but the engineers always tell you the drivers are fine. That's the first thing they tell you. You talk about your car, you refocus yourself, you get back in line, and you restart.
But it does go through your mind what happened, and you think about your own safety. I remember when A.J. Foyt crashed in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, many years ago when you and I were still racing, and it must have been a 30-minute delay. You're inside the car. It's hot. There's no air conditioning or anything like that. You've got your drink bottle. You can see the hose right now going up to the driver's helmet. The key thing that you are thinking about doing is getting back up to speed. You have to close that door on what you're thinking about as soon as they start the car and put it in a department all by itself and get back to racing down into turn 1 at 200 miles an hour on the restart.
And that happens quickly.
We're about a lap and a half away from that restart. Yeah, just over, about a lap and a half for now. Reminder, the NBA Finals begin Thursday night, 9 Eastern here on ABC. Third time the charm, perhaps? LeBron and the Cavs facing Steph and the Warriors. First time in NBA history that 2 teams have met in 3 consecutive finals. 8:30 with NBA Countdown. It streams live on the ESPN app, and it's Thursday night with Game 1 of the NBA Finals. All right, things on pit road from these various stops. Tony Kanaan has lost a bit of ground. Watch the fueling. Took a little bit to get connected.
But he rectified it.
Yep.
And it is under a yellow, so that's not that big of a penalty.
So Kanaan is in 7th place now. And we are now 1 lap away from going back under the green. Just joining us, where you been? Fernando Alonso has been the story of the day so far, the 2-time Formula One champion. In his first IndyCar race, in his first Indianapolis 500, started 5th, moved up to take the lead for the first time 37 laps into the race. Then Scott Dixon. After Jay Howard's car gets up into the wall in front of him and the handling gets disabled with a collapsed right front suspension, Dixon with a crazy, incredible crash that somehow he emerges from uninjured. Showing us for the 2nd time in this month of May what these drivers put on the line when they race at 220 and 230 miles an hour here at the most famous race course in the world. Coming to the restart, Ed Jones has had an extended stop on the pit lane. The rookie, one of the 4 rookies in the race. For Dale Coyne Racing, he will be catching up to the field as they come for the restart. He had some debris on the underwing of his car, probably picked up in the accident. Green flag, Alonso leads him down. Castroneves dusting off that outside lane in the gold and white car.
And he was wiggling all the way up to the top of that wall.
Helio back to 18th place. Here's Hunter Ray, picks up a spot. We watch this mad scramble into turn 3.
Some guys almost even into the grass. Everybody's aggressive on a start or restart as we ride along now with number 5 of James Hinchcliffe. Great time to pass people when they're all bunched together, but also the most dangerous time. And now Rossi back in front of his teammate.
Now watch Alonso. Look who's 4th, Hunter Ray.
Here's Tony Kanaan and Ed Carpenter.
And Ed doing some defensive driving. Tony goes around on the high side. Ed knew he didn't get a good run off of turn 2, kept to the low side, made Tony go around the top side, and Tony kept his foot in it and did it.
Andretti cars are 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Team owner Michael Andretti and Andretti Autosport, 4 times a winner of the 500, including 2 of the last 3 years. There's Takuma Sato by Fernando Alonso.
Alonso's learned early, as you saw there, just running a line that's about 3/4 the way down, moves up to the high side to take the turn, and Ryan Hunter-Reay slides on through.
Alonso's got to be careful. He's going to be under pressure from Hildebrand here shortly.
Eddie, you know that once you come away from a pit stop, the car reacts differently through the fuel run, as we call it. When the fuel starts to deplete, the car gets lighter, the tires start to get warm. As you start to get a couple of laps on them after the pit stop, then you understand what the handling of the race car is. Now, for some of these drivers, it might not be great now as you ride along, and this is how it feels, guys. Oh.
Yeah, they were playing chicken there. Rahal decided to pull out.
Got a lot of miles to go in this race for the lead.
One more.
Takuma Sato
up there. Don't go up there.
Still there.
God, that was close. If you go up there often enough, though, you clean the track off. They keep doing that a few more times, there'll be 2 more lanes.
Well, you do, and we're only at lap 64. If that was the last lap, you would have heard Ryan Hunter-Reay keep his foot on the throttle, but not with a teammate up on the right-hand side like he had with Alexander Rossi.
Those are 2 American Indy 500 champions going at it as hard as they can, and we're not even on the 66th lap.
Out a couple of people as we look a little deeper in
Montoya.
the field. Juan Pablo Montoya. Remember he had that problem earlier where the car stalled on the pit stop, might have run it a bit too far on fuel, marching his way back up, trying to take 15th away from James Davison.
You can never take Montoya out of an Indy 500.
Oh, look out, that's trouble!
There we go.
Into the wall.
That was a wrong move.
Wrong move, wrong place, wrong time.
Connor Daly.
Guys. I'm so sorry, that was my fault.
It's the words of Connor Daly here, driving the ABC supply machine.
One of the AJ Foyt Racing entries torn up. Also, might be that Jack Harvey got caught up in the aftermath of that also. The rookie from England making his Indy 500 debut. There is Harvey, the 24-year-old from Bassingham, England, originally. He and owner Michael Shank making their debut in partnership with Andretti Autosport. Not the way they wanted it to finish. Let's take a look at what happened.
And watch what's going on here, guys. We're going to watch for Connor Daly in the ABC machine right here. The number 4 machine. As we roll here, he's starting to take advantage of some backup that's going on. Everybody's starting to get packed up a little bit. He thinks I'll go around the outside. Not enough room to go around the 83 of Charlie Kimball. Just touches wheels, and when you're on the outside, you're up in that gray area. And off he went into the wall. I'm sure if he had a do-over with that one, he would want to do that one more time differently.
But to his defense, he was on a roll, wasn't he? He just needed an extra half a foot. But it's kind of early in the race. We'd only done 67 laps. What a pity. He had a good car underneath him.
Now, as He slows down. Watch Helio Castroneves look here.
Still there. Still there. You're clear by. Clear by.
That's the difference of a 4-time winner.
I was just going to say, you know something?
A 3-time winner. I apologize. I'm jumping ahead.
Yeah, he knows something's not right there, not the space. Yeah. A lot of cheers right now for the local driver from Noblesville, Indiana, Connor Daly.
So Castroneves could have easily gotten caught up in that, didn't he? In a second or two earlier, he took his foot out of it.
Jan?
When we saw Connor Daly go, it's great to see him walking apparently okay. One of the reasons that may have led to this is Connor told me in order to keep up and have the kind of pace that they wanted, they had to run light on downforce. So in order to have the speed, they said they lacked mechanical grip, meaning the tires didn't really grip the road the way they wanted. In order to stay competitive on that A.J. Foyt entry, they took some downforce out. And of course, you need a little extra downforce if you're going to try a high side move. Add to a dirty racetrack, which you guys pointed out, that was just not a good combination.
No, and there are the remains of the two cars. Now, we saw what happened to Connor Daly. Let's show you what happened here to Jack Harvey in this 50 car. After the crash, watch it sort of the back end of the incident, and there'll be some debris right here that will catch Harvey, and he'll spin trying to avoid it. So, our ESPN race strategist says that under this caution, the top 14 should probably stay out. Is the recommended strategy. 15th on back should likely pit is the recommended race strategy. We're 26 on the lead lap at this point with still 132 laps to go. Some of those guys toward the back. Remember that we're just on to pit road, maybe trying to engineer a way to make the race in one less stop.
You know, guys, a term comes to mind right now, and it's always said in the drivers' meetings, Eddie. Yellows breed yellows, cautions breed cautions. Put it in any term you want, but it always seems like you can have a nice clean race for a long period of time. You get that first yellow, and then they just seem to come along one after another.
Every time you have a restart, everybody's all bunched up, and you think, oh, well, this is my chance to get ahead 5 positions, and sometimes it's just not enough room. It was to me, it's sad to see Connor exit the race so early. He needs to do laps.
Pit road open here. Let's see if there are any takers. Yep. Looks like James Hinchcliffe is going to be the first one to make the move in from 19th position.
The 101st Indianapolis 500 telecast on ABC, presented by Firestone. Brought to you by Baby Driver, in theaters June 28th.
I'll bet if we went into the snake pit right now and did a survey of who's leading the race, we would not have great success. But who's having a good time, we would have a lot of very colorful answers. A lot of folks here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway today. Would be the 65th largest city in the United States, just the racetrack alone. Expecting 300,000 to be here at this 101st running of the 500-mile race. So under caution, after the Connor Daly-Jack Harvey crash, Helio Castroneves is going to be receiving a penalty once we go back to green. The prior restart was under review when the crash and the caution happened. The stewards have reviewed it, the 3-steward panel, and decided that Castroneves jumped the start.
He's got it set up correctly to get a run off the top side of the track, going past Connor Daly, and deemed to be passing Connor before the green was out. And Jan, you have more?
They noticed that that rear winglet is still missing even after those pit stops. They decided to not repair the damage at the rear. They can see on the left side of your picture, right side of the car, that winglet is missing from that contact with Dixon. They decided, let's add a little more rear wing and change the front wing. He says the balance is okay. They have just been on pit road and got a full load of Sunoco, and they got 4 Firestone brand new tires. They figure, well, we're going to get a pit road penalty anyway, a drive-through, so let's get some new service. Alan?
And they'll have to make that drive-through penalty once the race goes back under green. We are still under caution. Cleaning up from the Connor Daly-Jack Harvey incident, Takuma Sato is our race leader. The Indianapolis 500-mile race, telecast presented by Firestone. There's downtown, Colts Stadium, Lucas Oil Stadium on the right, and here is the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, where we're getting ready to wrap up the second caution of the day in just a moment and get back to full speed racing. A look from Joseph Newgarden's car and a reminder to download the IndyCar mobile app to access exclusive live in-car cameras, hear driver and pit crew chatter and more, only on Verizon. Newgarden with our visor cam and is running in 11th position. So second caution out after Connor Daly got in trouble up in turn number 3. Jack Harvey ended up crashing and spinning in the aftermath of the Daly incident. What happened to Connor? Off into the corner, trying to pick up some free positions with a little bit of momentum, and just got a little bit too wide and found the wall in turn number 3. Just a moment ago, while we were taking care of some business, Dr. Jerry Punch caught up to Connor Daly.
Connor Daly walking out of the infield hospital here. Connor, take us through what happened.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Turn 2, there was a big stack up. Everyone was spread out all down the back straight, and I was about 4 wide, I think, and I was trying to get around the 83 car, and everyone again jumped off the throttle entering 3, so I had to pop to the outside, and basically, you know, you never really want to be that high in 3, and so just lost the rear on entry once, twice, and then it was gone, so it was a shame.
Sorry about your day, bud.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Connor Daly, and by the way, Jack Harvey has been checked out and is okay and has walked out of the hospital as well.
All right, Doc, thanks. So we're on the 1-to-go lap, halfway down the back straightaway. The cars that stopped and made pit stops, perhaps now on an alternate strategy, include Will Power, James Hinchcliffe, Max Chilton, Sebastian Saavedra, and Pippa Mann, plus Elio Castroneves will have that pass-through penalty on pit road to serve under green once we go back racing. Power, the first one to have made a stop under this yellow. He's in 21st position.
Bad break for Castroneves. That pack,
Rossi.
7-8.
Rossi through Sato for the race lead into turn 1. Oh, wow. Oriol Servia had his hands full.
Excuse me, pardon me, coming through. So close.
Great pass, though. Look at the traffic.
4 wide into 3.
Second now around Takuma Sato and locked in on Alexander Rossi for the race lead.
We'll see if the two in front will work together. They are teammates. Makes a big difference when you give the car room that's trying to pass you, as Hunter Ray is trying now.
Alonso's got a run on Sato for 3rd place. Oh, into the inside. Wow. Tony Kanaan up to 4th.
I think one of those surprise moves under the 26 of Takuma Sato. He's probably getting his breath back then. A lot of times when that happens, it startles you.
And here comes Rahal, who passes Carpenter, turns right in front of him.
Hunter Ray with a run.
We talked about that before, Eddie. At this point in the race and with a teammate, they're going to let you do that. But the last 10 laps of the race, that's not going to happen.
I think Alonso's going to get Rossi turning into 3. It's going to be very close. But on the outside, no.
He's learned quick what to do, what not to do. That's the choice of a veteran. Decided not to do it at this time.
A veteran carrying a rookie yellow number on the back of his car.
Yes, that's almost an oxymoron.
I know.
Yeah.
When he came here for that, and he was listed as a rookie. It just didn't seem right.
J.R. Hildebrand picked up a spot there. Rick?
Let's talk about strategy. The reason Ryan Hunter-Reay just passed his teammate, they came on his radio and said, we want you to take a pass so we can get a read on what the balance is like when we're out front. That's exactly what he's doing right now. They want to know what it's like when there's no turbulence. So later in the race, towards the end, they know exactly how the car is going to feel if he's up front. So this is all strategy, and I can tell you, the Andretti teammates during that last yellow, the crews were talking, saying we're all going to work together. So that's what's going on.
Right now, Andretti has 4 aces in this poker game. They're all up front. Rahals
Caution.
P6.
Debris on the front straightaway.
Yellow for debris.
It's a rear wing inlet.
Yep. So third caution of the race. Someone missing one of those aerodynamic winglets.
And as Jan mentioned before, with Helio Castroneves' car, they can turn around and adjust the wings, the other wings that are on the car during a pit stop, if they do not want to have to take the time to turn around and remove the wing for replacement. Now let's watch to see if we can see where the piece comes from.
Wow.
Came from the sky.
Yeah, already flying in the air. I think that does say Panasonic on it, so if that's the case, that might be Takuma Sato.
Yeah. Let's see, zero in here on the 26 car of Sato and Marco Andretti. Look at the behind the left rear tire of the 27. That was Marco's radio, by the way, that we caught the snippet of, saying we'll change the rear wing on the pit stop.
And if that's the case, then it's going to be the 27 of Marco Andretti. So if that's the case, let's see what happens here with Marco. So we're going to roll it here as we move through. Go ahead. Pieces are flying.
There it is.
And that got some hang time.
And that's the stuff when you're in the cockpit, as we've seen from the visor cam. You don't see that. It just comes down in front of you.
Pit road's open. Rick?
Well, these guys are up front. Once again, the Andretti guys all have been working together, but now they've got to come in, do everything as best as possible. Fernando Alonso does have a little bit of an advantage. He's going to come in. Remember, he wasn't quite happy after that last stop. He kind of got eaten up. As a result, they want to get things just right. But the nice thing is he's got an easy out. Now, the man who's leading the race, Ryan Hunter-Reay, relatively happy with the car. They're going to make no changes and send it back out. Doc?
Alexander Rossi wanted some changes on the car, but he said, no, not now, not under yellow. We got to get in and out. And Rossi will follow Ryan Hunter-Reay with Alonso behind him off pit road.
Marco Andretti is the car still sitting there. They're changing the rear wing on the 27 car. There's our Honda race off pit road. Hunter-Reay hangs on to the top spot. Will Power did not pit under the caution flag. He leads the field down to the restart. Max Chilton out from behind Power in the 8 car. Also did not pit under the yellow. To turn 3.
Too wide out of 4.
So Max Chilton is now the race leader. Castroneves also did not pit. That was Rossi going around him.
Chilton, one of the Ganassi cars. And we talked about a light fuel load there. Ryan Hunter-Reay past the 12 in the Verizon machine
with
of
great
willpower.
Ease. That was really easy, wasn't it?
Yeah. Now Ryan Hunter-Reay puts his sights on Max Chilton.
Chilton moves to try and break the draft. Nothing doing. Here comes Hunter-Reay.
And he's forcing him to the outside.
Max smartly gets off the gas, lets Ryan Hunter-Reay go. Some good battling going on here. A lot of dicing. And running in dirty air, you know, that's the thing that you always think about restarts. Yes, it's great to pass when you're close like that, but the turbulent air that comes off the cars in front makes it difficult to get that downforce for the turns.
And here goes Rossi chasing Hunter-Reay. Alonso's getting a little bit frustrated. He stuck his nose down there, turning into 4.
So there again is the biggest gap we've seen in a while. Alonso passed Will Power for 5th place.
Yeah, no, for Will, you know, some laps on the tires. Cars maybe not gripping as well as it is. Here comes teammate Joseph Newgarden behind him. Watch this. Boy, you look at that rear pod, that rear tire pod in the back of Joseph's car, on the right rear of his car, the left rear of our camera. A lot of flexing going on that. Here we go.
Here goes Alonso again.
Past Helio Castroneves to pick up the 4th position.
Every lap, Alonso was learning something.
I would agree. I don't think there's ever any 2 laps here, and all the laps I did, Eddie, and I'm sure you'd say the same thing, that they're ever the same.
That's the first defensive move I've seen him make. What I really like about what Alonso's doing, he can run his race car anywhere on the course. I've seen him high, I've seen him low, I've seen him almost in the grass.
Remember that report we had earlier on about all the Andretti cars elected to have more downforce on their cars, meaning more grip through the turns, maybe not as fast in the straightaway. I think it's paying dividends for them right now, especially in traffic.
Watch this. He'll be low. He'll be really low. There you go. Into the draft. And there's nothing the car ahead of him can do.
And up front, Rossi to the inside of Hunter-Reay for the race lead. Chilton not giving in to Alonso there.
So Alonso had to tuck right back in behind Chilton, and what ended up doing, you saw his car go up towards the wall a little bit because he didn't get all that clean air going over the wings. So he probably just learned something there.
All right, catch you up on a few things. Marco Andretti, remember we said he had the long pit stop, had to change the rear wing. He went from 9th to 26th before the restart. Takuma Sato mixing it up for the race lead before the pit stops. He's all the way back now in 17th place. They dropped a wheel nut, changing tires on his stop, and lost all of that track position.
But he has a lot of speed, and there's still enough time for him to make that up.
Also, James Davison is being issued a penalty for blocking and being told to give the spot back to the car, or give the spot to the car that he was trying to defend, I will say there. You're allowed to change your line once. Here's 3rd place, Alonso again and Chilton.
And Chilton is not giving him an inch.
Certainly ran that defensive line coming out of 2. You're allowed by the rules to come out, pick a lane that you want to run going down the straightaway, but you cannot move your line in response to the car behind you. So for Max Chilton, he seems to be making the one move. No penalty so far.
And through all of that, Alonso got passed by Castroneves. So Alonso's going to have to regroup. and find a different way. And here goes Castroneves. And he, I think, is going to make it stick.
The timing for Castroneves was perfect coming off of turn 2 to have enough speed once he caught the draft from the car in front from Chilton just to be able to go past, because there is no way that Chilton could defend.
Two teammates, first and second.
No.
Oop, little slip there.
Here we go. Go, get behind him.
I think what we're also seeing is the downforce is not allowing him to get down the straight quick enough. Here he goes. He makes a move. It looked like the 8 car of Chilton seemed to have just a little bit more ease of getting down the straightaway. So probably that lower downforce that we heard that Ganassi was running might start to come into play here.
And now Ryan Hunter-Reay back through Alexander Rossi for the lead. The teammates swapping the top spot, saving a little fuel along the way, while Helio Castroneves closes in third place. Ryan Hunter-Reay, the winner of this race, after a terrific fight with Castroneves a few years ago, out in front, trying to win a second Indianapolis 500. Back after this from your ABC station. Quick reminder, the NBA Finals begin Thursday night at 9 Eastern on ABC. Another matchup between LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers, Steph Curry and the Golden State Warriors. First time in NBA history, two teams have met in 3 consecutive finals. It starts at 8:30 with NBA Countdown, streams live on the ESPN app, and it is Thursday night here on ABC. Of course, they're, I guess you'd call this the rubber finals, wouldn't you? Cavs win in 1, Warriors win in 1. Helio Castroneves is your new leader, maybe not for long. Here comes Ryan Hunter-Reay. Castroneves trying to win a 4th Indianapolis 500-mile race. Started all the way back in 19th in line, which Helio was well aware was the same starting place that Ryan Hunter-Reay started when he won this race in 2014, Jan.
Yes, and right now for Helio Castroneves, he is on a slightly different pit strategy, but only 6 laps different from those cars behind, so it's not too bad. You may see Castroneves here, let's say lap 110 or so 10 or so laps. If there was a caution between now and then, that would play right into Castroneves' hands. Rick?
And of course, they're talking fuel strategy with Ryan Hunter-Reay as well. They said if it goes green the rest of the way, they felt he was about 2 or 3 laps short. So what they wanted to do was save fuel. And in fact, they told him, let Helio go by. He's on a different fuel strategy. We'll continue to work with our teammates. So the teammates will continue to work together. But in the meantime, they are very happy to follow Helio at this point.
Two guys who slugged it out for the win. Such a classic battle 3 years ago in 2014. Hunter-Reay coming out on top of Castroneves. There's our ESPN race strategist, their next projected pit lap. So getting on the alternate strategy, working out pretty well so far for Castroneves, but again, it depends on other things that happen going forward in the race. Halfway, we've crossed the midway point of the Indianapolis 500. Just joining us, we've had 3 caution flags. The highlight of the race came back at lap 53, about the quarter mark of the race, and a terrible crash involving Jay Howard and Scott Dixon. Both drivers are okay, but Dixon's car was destroyed, all except the safety cell when it got upside down on top of the wall of the inside fence. He did climb and walk away. We've heard from him already. He said, I can't wait to come back next year.
And Helio Castroneves' prediction right now with some teammate battle going on between Rossi and Ryan Hunter-Reay. Rossi gets through for the pass, but you just mentioned 100 laps, and earlier on today in the pregame show, Helio said, my game is to be leading at halfway, exactly what he is doing right now.
What a difference a year makes for Rossi. I know he won last year, but he wasn't this competitive throughout the whole race. He starred the whole time.
You know, when I spoke to Rossi the other day, it was interesting because a lot of people last year, remember when he came over from F1, came to Indy, they thought it was the only thing he had left to do. He came over here, studied it, became very competitive, as now he's taking a look. Will he have room on the inside? No, but Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to come in. But for Rossi, he said, I have committed to Indy cars. I bought a condo in Indianapolis. I'm around the team all the time. I am now an IndyCar driver. Just to let people know, I came here last year from F1. I was an Indy driver last year. I am now fully committed again this year.
And he has a master ahead of him right now. Hunter-Reay really knows his way around this place, and he can always work towards a win. His win with Castroneves was a classical finish. And if I remember correctly, he spent a lot of time in the pits.
Here he comes right now for his stop.
Just where we estimated, right around lap 104, 105. Jan?
And you can tell by 104 that he was using quite a bit of fuel by leading, but this should still be okay for Castroneves. No problem with the tires. And again, that is another 7-second stop for Castroneves, 7.3 this time. They've been very consistent on pit stops. Now they just need not have damage to fix down here, and he should be looking good.
So because the race has unfolded the way that it has, our ESPN race strategist tells us that everyone is basically on the same 3-stop strategy now. Just the 3 and maybe the 8 and the 12 will have to pit just a few laps earlier than people like Rossi and Hunter-Reay and Alonso, who announces himself moving around the lap car of Spencer Pigot. Rick?
Well, Max Chilton is going to bring the car, and it's interesting because he did not like the balance of this car on carb day. He said they were going to go back to the balance that they had on Monday. That's exactly what they did. He's been much happier with it ever since, and now he's on that alternate strategy. Doc?
Will Power had to change the rear wing after debris damage from that Dixon and Howard crash. They also had to adjust the front wing, which was damaged, so he's been on a fuel economy run. Finally coming in off strategy to get his stop. No changes, 4 tires, and Sunoco fuel.
It's a good update on Will Power from earlier. So it won't be long before we see some of these others that are now out front in, including leader Alexander Rossi. 94 laps to go, just past midway as you follow the Indianapolis 500. The Indianapolis 500-mile race, telecast presented by Firestone. Some very interesting racing there between Will Power, Ryan Hunter-Reay, and Alexander Rossi.
And for Power not wanting to go down further, being down a lap, he just wanted to try and make sure that he could actually keep Ryan Hunter-Reay behind, but was not able to do that. And here comes Rossi.
Zach Veach coasted to the pits out of Power in the AJ Foyt 40 car. Doc?
Headed down pit road, Alexander Rossi had said he wanted some significant changes. They didn't want to do it under the previous yellow, so we'll wait to a green stop. We'll see what Rob Edwards has up his sleeve. He talked about another 1/4 degree. We'll watch the fueling going in. Right side, left side tires. No adjustments. Oh, now the front ring again. Half turn of front wing, get it full of fuel, 9.2 seconds. They had to wait on the fuel, so a little longer than they wanted to be here.
Simon Pagenaud and Sebastian Saavedra also on and off pit road. Now here comes Ryan Hunter-Reay in, along with a host of others, Alonso, Kanaan, Newgarden, and more. Rick?
Well, we got 2 of the leaders coming in. There's Fernando Alonso, they're relatively happy with the car, but Ryan Hunter-Reay just a few moments ago was complaining that he had a vibration in the right rear. They believe it's just the tire. They want to put a little bit of wing in it, and they send him back out. Slow stop, though, for Fernando.
When drivers are coming in the pit lane, you saw guys reaching in front of their visor and taking a strip off. That's a clear strip they call a visor strip. And once it gets dirty, they get a chance to take it off, as Graham Rahal does right there.
Oh, and that is such a good feeling, isn't it, when you clean off your visor?
Doc?
Slow and steady, that's the message from Graham Rahal. They've been doing a half a turn of front wing on every stop. He said the car on carb day was phenomenal, quoting him. He says, it's the best car I've ever had at Indy. He thinks this could be his day. And he and his dad joined the Youngsters as the only other father-son team to win it. Another half a turn of front wing. Getting it full of fuel, 8.2 seconds. Another good stop for the Rahal team.
And Doc, there is also a little bit of adjustment of the rear wing there of the 15 of the Steak and Shake machine for Rahal. So a big change for the handling of that car. Look, let's see what happens with it.
So the race leader off of this cycle of pit stops isn't even in the picture here. He's so far ahead. Ryan Hunter-Reay has put a gap on this group from second on back. Rossi second, Alonso third, Castroneves fourth, Will Power fifth. And there is Hunter-Reay. Look at the gap, 3.5 seconds.
But when you're out there by yourself and you don't have a drafting partner, it's just a question of time that they catch up to you. That's the sort of gap, Alan, he would like to have had with 5 laps to go.
Yeah. Tony Kanaan by Graham Rahal there. That was for 7th place. Rahal had the fastest car of the last stint of the race. It's a thing the engineers do where they adjust for traffic and so on and kind of project what kind of speed you've got in your car. Rahal was very good in the last stint, though he's lost a little ground at the beginning of this one.
When Rahal has a car that he's comfortable with, he's capable of winning on any circuit.
Something to think about as you look at this group of cars from second on back. That alternate pit strategy that Penske got on with Will Power and Helio Castroneves, and that Ganassi got on with Max Chilton, has worked out for them to this point. They're up in the thick of things right now. All of those cars are.
We'll see how much it works when we get down to the last pit stop.
Never know.
They
when
might have to come in for a splash and go. Look at Rahal passing another car again, right at the last minute.
There he is, Doc.
And we talked about how Graham Rahal really was lacking the balance in the car. His only complaint was one word: slow. We're just slow. So on that stop, as you heard Scott Goodyear said, they make an adjustment in the front and back of the car. They took overall downforce out of the 15 car, and that's made him even quicker. A little bit of a handful there, but quicker as he's made a couple of extra passes in the last lap.
We'll see now how he does with Kanaan, who's right ahead of him.
Well, you heard him breathe the throttle there going through the turn. When you take downforce off, you lose grip in the turn. So it makes the car work a little harder. Sometimes it slides the car, and the tires will start to go away from you a little sooner. So you have to find the right balance. We hear drivers talk about that all day long.
The key is, obviously, as we've seen, passing into 1 and passing into 3. So if you're good off 2, it makes all the difference, and he's not lifting through here.
Just a little flick of a downshift. You see the visor cam on top of Graham's helmet as we look from the camera on the car. Let's just say that the visor cam has taken a hit as Alonso and Rossi go for second place. A little debris on the screen that makes the visor cam a little difficult to show you at the moment.
Now, although we don't have much wind here, guys, there is the windsocks at the end of each straight, and drivers look at them as they go into the turn. Right now, the wind's not really helping you. It's giving you a bit of a tailwind going into 2, and you can see the wind here. It's a bit of a headwind coming out of 3 into 4, so it helps tighten the car up a little bit going into 4. Drivers will compensate for that as they make their run through this race.
All right, couple of things. Spencer Pigot in the 11s being told they got to pick up the pace to be able to stay in the race. And James Davison in the Dale Coyne Racing 18 subbing for Sebastian Bourdais. They have loose bodywork on the car. There it is. He's being black flagged and told to come onto the pit lane.
Front wing, we are going to need to pit for loose front wing.
Yeah, 2 things with that, guys. If that comes off the car, he'll have none front downforce, as we call it, and he'll end up going up towards the wall. The other thing is, if it comes off, other drivers can hit it.
Fall off and potentially hurt somebody. You need to pit.
There you go.
Boy, I've never seen that before.
Just loose, so he should get through 3. The short shoot here between 3 and 4.
One more lap and we are going to call it.
No, he needs to be in now, not one more lap.
Now.
It's Oriol Serbia.
Yeah.
Oh, contact.
Yeah.
Trouble off of turn 2. That's Buddy Lazier.
This plays right into Castroneves' hand.
The former winner has found the wall off of turn number 2. You see how quickly the safety team is there with him. And yellow is out for the 4th time in the race with 78 laps to go. Wow.
Just a small team, a family-run team. His father, Bob, raced in the IndyCar Series and Indy 500. Now you see in the top right corner, his car is already around by the time he's getting to the midpoint of the turn. That's the apex. It looked like the back end had come around on him.
Early on, though, before he even came into the picture.
Yeah, no other car involved there.
Nope, so the car was either what we call very loose, where the back end wants to come around on you. We call that oversteer, or something broke on the car. I'm going to give you one more replay here. You can see the skid marks up into the wall, the safer barrier. That's been in play a little bit here today, that steel and foam energy reduction system. And for Buddy, 49 years old, previous winner of this race. At 49, the oldest driver in the series.
Very fit driver, spends a lot of time getting ready for this race.
Looking from Will Power's view.
Inside, 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 inside.
I think for Will Power, he saw that unfolding ahead of him and then start to get off the gas.
Maybe the cars behind him didn't see that.
And almost got run over by Takuma Sato when Power got out of the gas. You see how quickly that 26 flashed to his left.
Yeah, and I may have said incorrectly earlier on that Power was actually going down a lap, which he obviously is not, because he's right now running in 7th.
When he was fighting with the leaders, he was fighting to stay on the tail end of the lead lap until those leaders made the green flag pit stop cycle complete. So the 4th caution of this Indianapolis 500. Again, 78, now 77 laps to go. Each of the last few years have had either 5 or 6 caution flags in the race. So we're probably not done yet. And the safety workers with a lot of debris to clean up. Pit road will be open this time. 77 laps to go. It's an interesting number. If you put 33, 34 laps on a tank of fuel.
And there's a good odd. There's good odds there'll be at least one more yellow.
As you're riding with Ryan Hunter-Reay there for a second, you heard him clutch. A lot of these guys are saving fuel by driving along, putting their foot in the clutch, or in these days, using the hand device on the steering wheel. Same with Alexander Rossi.
I think I just saw Ryan Hunter-Reay's crew pick up their tires and walk away like they're not going to pit here.
Listen to that. He's doing everything he can to not use fuel. Yes, they took their tires in.
Hence the clutching. And
will they run out late? Is this show and tell? Well, let's see. No, most of the leaders stay out. Max Chilton will be the first one to head to the pit road from 13th position. Okay, so let the strategy games begin. Buddy Lazier spins off of turn 2, hits the wall. He has climbed from the car.
The 101st Indianapolis 500 telecast on ABC, presented by Firestone. Firestone, we don't just make tires, we make champions.
Under caution with 75 laps to go while the cleanup continues after Buddy Lazier's crash, Sage Karam has coasted to a stop at the exit of turn number 1. You see the safety crew is there with the youngster out of Nazareth, Pennsylvania.
Looks like it's stuck in gear.
Yeah, They're rocking it back and forth, and hopefully that puts it into neutral.
And if not, they're going to have to get the wrecker out and hook it up and carry it away.
Every
and
lap
here he
we
comes
do
out
under
of the car.
Every lap we do under yellow is going to change how people start assessing how much fuel they need for the end.
All right, Ryan Hunter-Reay. We saw the crew pick up the tires and not bring the car down pit road under this yellow.
In your fuel here, obviously it's going to be important. Don't know how this is going to shake out with yellows the rest of the way. I got to suspect all these guys that just came in are going to try to make it on 2. They're going to be doing the Rossi thing from last year.
The Rossi thing from last year was winning the Indianapolis 500, Jan.
Yes, and that Rossi thing, as you said, Ryan Hunter-Reay not coming onto pit road. Had he pitted, he would have committed himself to 3 stops. By staying out, he'll have 2 more stops to go. So that speculation that you heard on the radio, those who pitted now would have to do major fuel save and have a lot of yellow to get to the end. Those who did not come on the pit road, again, led by Ryan Hunter-Reay. All the radio traffic up and down pit road was this: if Ryan pits, follow him in. If not, stay with him. And in my estimation, 2 stops to go now for the leaders.
Yeah, our ESPN race strategist projects that it is a 2-stop race for everyone because everyone would need a lot of laps to try and make it the rest of the way. The cars that just pitted just now. And the answer to how much is a lot is, yes, a lot. More than you're likely to get according to the history, recent history of this race. Alexander Rossi running in second, Doc.
We talked about his win a year ago. You know, he said what frustrates him most. Yeah, he won the Indy 500, but he said today it's about validation. He said everyone thinks we won it on strategy and smarts. Yeah, we had great fuel mileage, and no one understands our speed and skill that was involved. He said that's why today I want to win it on speed. Now the conversation a moment ago from Rob Edwards, they're going to make 2 more stops to really get the car trimmed to win. And what they're thinking about doing, now get this, is taking going -1 in the rear and taking wing out of the front, which means they're taking some significant downforce away to make him quick on these final couple stops, maybe on each stop. What do you think about that, guys? That could put a fast car, but it could put him hanging on here.
That would make it fast when he's by himself, but it would be a handful when he's in traffic.
And a lot of times when you have yellows or close to the end, when you're all packed up like that, if you have a car with light downforce, yes, it's fast down the straight, but boy, oh boy, it just doesn't work in the turns. Sometimes you can't keep up to people coming out of the turns to have that run down the straight. So
you're absolutely right.
It's a gamble.
And you have to keep your foot on the throttle, Alan, the whole way around.
As you saw, they ended up having to hook up the Sage Karam car to the wrecker, and that's why the caution is still extended. Well, I will say this, the Penske gang, for not having a lot of track position for the start of this race and for much of this race, have worked it around pretty well. A look from Will Power's car, and a reminder to download IndyCar Mobile to access exclusive live in-car cameras, hear driver and pit crew chatter and more, only on Verizon. Will Power now up to 7th place. Remember the report, they had to change the rear wing on that car earlier in the race, and we're way back in the pack.
And don't forget about Montoya, he's in 8th.
Who had a problem earlier and has come back from it. Ran Montoya out of gas and had to restart the car after a green flag pit stop. Helio Castroneves running in 4th place. Started back in 19th, trying to win the Indianapolis 500 for a 4th time. It has not been all smooth sailing today. This is the big crash earlier when Jay Howard hit the wall and Scott Dixon was launched. Castroneves went underneath Dixon's crashing car. Dixon was okay, by the way, after that devastating hit. Did some damage to Castroneves' car. Lost some track position, had a drive-through penalty earlier, got it back as a fortunate result of a quick caution just after they made their pass-through penalty. And as a result of working the pit strategy, have Helio back up in the top 5, Jan.
Yes, and he is on a slightly different strategy. Same number of stops, but he has 9 laps more in the books than everyone around him. So he is going to have to hit pit road first. Again, not an additional stop, but during that 9-lap window when he stops and other people are waiting, if for some reason there were a caution, he'd be toast. So he's running a little bit in the danger zone right now. Castroneves hoping that's not the case.
All right, coming to the green flag. There'll be 71 laps to go. Still a lot of racing left to be done. Ryan Hunter-Reay leads him down. 2 lap cars between himself and Fernando Alonso, who's second, not for long.
And Alonso came out of that bundle of cars second.
These restarts have been nuts. Let's watch some of this back in the pack.
I think that yellow car we saw on the high side just a moment ago was Oriol Servia.
Yep.
Just see the cars moving around. Here we go.
Alonso back to the lead.
He's liking that high side a lot.
Kind of got the wave by, if you will, in my opinion, from Hunter-Reay there. Yeah, you got the run. I'm going to follow you for a while. Save a little fuel. Remember, fuel is still critical at this point in the race.
Top 3 cars are Andretti cars. Alonso, Hunter-Reay, Rossi. And then there's the first Penske with the Chevy.
Debris turn 4. Something has just come off a car. Yellow flag, 70 laps to go. While the field slows, there's the piece of debris. While the field slows, an update on a couple of things. James Davison had to do a pass-through penalty that he just served under the green flag for not obeying the black flag earlier when that wing was loose. The stewards gave him the drive-through penalty. He just did that. And Sage Karam's car, the story from pit road is the battery was dead in the 24 car. And that is why it quit running.
And not allowing him to also place the car in neutral. So there's so much contact going on here, guys, right now. I just see debris on the racetrack. Saw a lot of pieces of carbon fiber that we just saw in the previous moment. Back to clutching the car again, saving fuel.
Everybody in the pits has been sharpening their pencils now, trying to figure out when do they have to pit.
Or sharpening your keyboard these days. Pencils was when you were driving.
They don't use pencils anymore?
There you go.
No, they don't use slide rules either. All right, pits are open here. Let's see what we get.
We didn't get anybody last time.
And we're going to get only, who is that back? That's a lap down car. That is Sebastian Saavedra, the first to pit. He's in 24th place. Yellow, number 5 in the Indy 500. Coming to the restart, what'll be with 66 laps to go in the Indianapolis 500. Fernando Alonso is out in front. He has led 3 different times. He's led the second most laps in the race. And he's going to get a chance to pace a rolling restart here with Ryan Hunter-Reay and Alexander Rossi behind him.
Outside now, outside clear.
That voice you heard was from the spotters. Each driver has 2 spotters on the racetrack, one in turn 1, one in turn 3, and they radio to the driver what's going on right now. The spotter in turn 3 for Fernando will be telling that Ryan Hunter-Reay is on the inside and just gone past.
That was a good test for Alonso. If there was a restart at the end, but they've happened often. He's seen that even if you make it through 1 and 2, you're very vulnerable turning into 3 after a restart. Look.
Here he comes again. Quick details to catch you up on. The cars that pitted under the yellow that are on the lead lap. Graham Rahal stopped, Simon Pagenaud stopped, James Davison stopped. Also pitting were Saavedra, Mann, and Veach. There goes Rossi by. Graham Rahal, Doc Punch told us during the break, the pulling the downforce out of the car wasn't working, so they came down and put it back in. That's why they came in on the pit lane. Pippa Mann has just served a pass-through penalty for leaving the pit box with equipment on the car still. And the reason people have been passing up the pit window as Kanaan makes a move through Castro Neves is the numbers say from the ESPN race strategist that they would have still needed at that last yellow 16 laps of caution to make it in one more stop. And the caution probabilities are, we're going to get another yellow. Who's that off the pace? That's an engine. That's Hunter Ray. Smoke.
We've been waiting for that all day. That's the first time a Honda engine has had a problem.
Copy, we see it.
It's so disappointing.
My pick for winning the event this morning.
So if you're a Honda driver right now and you see one of your buddies start smoking, what do you think?
It's funny you said that because that was going through my head right then and there. Especially with your teammates' cars.
Well, let's look at the top four. First is Alonso, second is Rossi, then is Kanaan, all three Hondas. The fastest Chevy is Castro Neves in a Penske.
You can only imagine how heartbroken Ryan Hunter-Reay is. He said he realized after he won the race in 2014, it means more to him than he even understood at the time. He had such a great car and such a chance to win today.
I've often felt this track picks the winner itself because you can have a fantastic car and nothing happens, and sometimes you have an average car and you have a great race. He was running really well.
Led the most laps in the race, led on 7 different occasions. Not to be.
Remember last year he had such a good car before getting knocked out during that pit incident.
By his teammate. Which I think definitely had to be frustrating.
Just joining us and weren't with us earlier, one of the stories entering this month, Honda seemed to find a little extra horsepower over the Chevrolets, but they have had some reliability problems here on the Speedway. Ryan Hunter-Reay is out. Let's listen.
Oops. That's the same thing we heard with Hinchcliffe's.
That is not a sound a driver wants to hear or feel.
So disappointing, so bitterly disappointing.
So Hunter-Reay is out. The caution flag is out for the 6th time, and now we begin to see the crews getting ready for pit stops. We should see almost everybody in here. There may be a few that are going to be on the alternate strategy by having pitted on that last yellow. We'll keep an eye on Graham Rahal, Simon Pagenaud, and James Davison. The analytics, the race strategy says they should maybe stay out here. And again, Doc reported after they put the downforce back into the Graham Rahal car, they told him save, 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 save. Hunter-Reay is out. The driver who led the most laps, and they're cleaning up. We're back after this from your ABC station. The Indianapolis Motor Speedway and the 101st Indianapolis 500-mile race, our telecast presented by Firestone. We've got 61 laps to go. The leaders were just on the pit lane under the caution. There have been some interesting developments in this one. Updates on what happened on some of the stops from some of the race leaders. We will go with Rick in Alonso's pit.
And Fernando Alonso just had a perfect pit stop. He came in, got things on quickly, no adjustments to the car, and they sent him back out. Relatively happy, as he has been almost the entire time. When you think about it, it's been almost that way the entire month. Now he just has to dial it in and figure out how to get through the rest of this race. Doc?
First glitch of the day for 98, the last year's winner, Alexander Rossi, comes in for fuel. They had to wait on fuel, just over 11 seconds, and as he tries to pull out, he stalled the car. He sputtered, the car sputtered, he got it back, and was able to pull away, lost another 3 seconds, so about a 14-second stop for Rossi. By the way, Tony Kanaan half-turn a front wing in to help the understeer, but Rossi had some issues on that stop.
Here he is, a look at what happened to the 98 car on its stop that Doc was just describing. Well, we saw that twice in last year's race where they had trouble getting the fueling connected.
Hang on, got a problem with the fuel. Wait.
I think they actually held him up so he wouldn't actually pull out in front of somebody, so that was a good call by the team.
Okay, so a couple of other things. We've had several cars, 8 cars that didn't pit here. Max Chilton's the new leader. Charlie Kimball, J.R. Hildebrand. James Davison running 4th. Graham Rahal is 5th. Simon Pagenaud, Ed Jones, Marco Andretti. Those cars did not pit. They're in full fuel save mode. And Fernando Alonso is first off the pit lane. He is in 9th position. What's happened so far in the 500? Well, Alonso has put on a show.
He's put on a show right from the beginning. He's been incredibly clean in his passing. He's always managed to get by everybody, high, low, wherever. And I get the feeling, Scott, that he's getting better as the race progresses. He just did a restart and was perfect.
Led 4 times in the race. Here's the big crash of the day. Problems for Jay Howard as he comes off the wall. Scott Dixon is launched and lands upside down on top of the inside retaining wall. His car destroyed. Somehow, Dixon hopped out of the car and is okay.
We talk about the safety cell that the team has built here. This Dallara car is so strong. And for Ryan Hunter-Reay, we just saw that a moment ago. As he's been leading and so strong and so competitive, we saw the engine go. Just listen to this.
And that's an engine failure that does not give you any warning at all. He was lucky it happened in the straightaway and not in the corner.
Other problems in the race. Connor Daly, Jack Harvey, and Buddy Lazier all involved in crashes. All drivers okay. Coming to a restart. 58 laps to go.
Looks like Alonso's dropped a position.
Kimball on the outside, you see that going around. Max Chilton did a very nice job on the restart.
Yellow flag debris. So Alonso lost a pile of positions in that first corner and a half.
Okay, I think it's just front wing.
And Ed Carpenter's missing the front wing on the left side of his car. There it is.
Now that's the first time since the start of the race that Alonso has found him around some different drivers.
Report there, we're not sure what he's talking about. Somebody popped out of the high groove, so we'll see if we can find that.
Right now, pit right now, we'll do the front wing only. Front wing only.
So the middle of the front row starter, Ed Carpenter, with some troubles here that are going to bring him to the pit lane. Let's see if we can figure out what happened. Have you got it there, Dr. Goodyear?
Well, from everything that I'm being able to see right now, gonna turn around and you can see Ed Carpenter's car. Really, I think what's going to end up happening here is you're going to see him have a problem as he's going down into turn 1. Let's run with this. The car will go sideways. It looks like he's just got a lot of dirty air. Ooh. Car goes sideways, and man, he's so lucky to collect that, and that there was actually another car there on the inside.
Inside, or one inside.
Yeah, you see, he was off the gas going in the turn.
Clear behind, you're all clear there to come down.
You know what happened there, too, also, Scott, is on that restart, it looked like Pippa Mann had a little trouble coming up to full speed, and they were kind of scattering around her when they went down into turn 1, and that might have been what got Ed
off the gas so much. All that weight comes off the back end of the car. He had to try to avoid. He turns, and the back end's light, and it came around on him.
He might have actually had to touch the brakes there.
So
and that would have definitely pulled it to the left.
So a front wing change for Ed. And another caution flag and more yellow flag fuel saving laps going into the bank of some of those guys that are out in front of this race that did not pit under that prior caution. So Charlie Kimball is the race leader, and they're still trying to get the pace car in front of the leader because the yellow flag came out so quickly right after the restart. They're gathering up the field just now. All right, so with the yellow coming out, and by the way, the damage from the 7 car, Mikhail Aloshin, when Carpenter got sideways and came down and they had the contact. Look at that right side pod.
That's a lot of damage. It's on the outside of that car there. It's on his right hand, our left hand side. So as it goes past frame here, just look at all the damage on the side of the bodywork there. A big hole in the side pod.
Yeah, it's not going to be good, is it?
I think the stewards will have to call them in to change that part.
So the 30-year-old from Moscow with some bodywork damage, and that is going to need some attention from his team. Let's sort out where things stand for some of these people near the front of the field. Jan?
It's very good news for Castro Neves. When that caution came out and he pitted on lap 139, he is now the virtual leader of that group. So he runs an 8th. And I think those who stopped on one, look behind there. You see Alonso, you see Canan, all those people behind Castro Neves, they're all on the same strategy. I would not be surprised if the winner of this race comes from that group who pitted on 139. Castro Neves now in the same sequence, and he leads that group.
And he's had a fast car.
So Alexander Rossi, remember, had the fueling problem on that last caution, kicked him all the way back to 21st in line, and of course they immediately begin working a plan to try and get him back up front.
All right, so you got 56 laps to go when you get round here this time, and long way to go. We're doing on one more stop, and with this yellow, that's helping us just basically race to the end from here. So let's see what we can do.
Well, they worked it out last year to make one fewer stop than most, and wound up drinking milk and kissing bricks.
What I like about that is the calmness that comes across the radio from Rob Edwards, who's a strategist, and just tells you what you need to know and what your job is. And now when the restart comes along, he knows exactly what his job is.
I totally agree, and I would add that it's highly probable there'll be another yellow.
I would agree, especially the way things are going here now. Remember what I said earlier, yellows breed yellows, and
you know, we've had lots of yellows from debris, bits falling off of cars.
Yeah.
Well, because it's almost been a little stock car racing style contact with these open wheel cars. These people have been going 2 and 3 wide and leaning on each other.
Right before Carpenter had his problem, we saw there's a lotion in the pits to see how quickly they change all of those pieces, if they do.
So now they're going to try and...
You got a problem there on that left front.
All right. So while they work on the 7 car, Dr. Jerry Punch has a few updates for us. Doc?
Yeah, back at the care center, we mentioned that Scott Dixon was in that violent impact earlier and walked out, and he told us on the air that his left ankle was bothering him, left foot was bothering him. So a moment ago, he came back to the care center and just walked out of here in a walking boot covering that left foot and ankle. So he will have that evaluated a little more here later in the afternoon. Also, Buddy Lazier, you saw the hard impact there. He has been transported down to IU Health Methodist, complaining of some pain in the middle of his chest. So he's being transported for evaluation, and we are waiting here to get a comment from Ryan Hunter-Ray.
All right, Doc, thank you. I appreciate the updates, and we'll offer our best thoughts to both Scott Dixon and Buddy Lazier that whatever's hurting heals up very quickly. So Charlie Kimball is now the race leader. 2 top 5 finishes in the last 2 years in this race. For the driver of the 83, he accelerates away, and we go back under green. On almost every restart, Helio Castroneves has gone to the outside in 1 and 2. Look at this, 5 wide.
Oh, and they all make it somehow.
He started to say Castroneves has gone to the outside and gotten a couple of cars in the first couple of corners on each restart. Up front for the race lead, it's Max Chilton.
You know what I loved about that last segment is that you could hear the roar of the crowd down in turn 3 because they knew they were seeing something special with so many cars spread out so wide.
Now this is the first time since the beginning of the race that Alonso has been back in the field, and he has not raced against many of the drivers he's having to pass now, so it's all brand new territory.
Look out!
Oh,
wow,
man.
James Davison on J.R. Hildebrand. 18 car, remember, started last in this race. Subbing for Sebastian Bourdais, who had that awful crash on the first day of qualifications. And has found himself right now up in third position.
You know, and I commented on that earlier. Just remarkable. Comes in there at the last minute, a few practice sessions, qualifying, a couple of warm-ups before the race, and what a tremendous job.
Graham Rahal is on pit road. Doc?
The comment was they think they may have a left rear tire going down. They'd come in and put the downforce back in the car. We're trying to save fuel to be able to get back in the top 10, have a finish, and now left rear tire going flat. The unscheduled stop for Graham Rahal.
Of course, they see the real-time telemetry that comes from the car, the tire pressures on the machine, which would give them the heads up that they had a problem. So how about Max Chilton, the 26-year-old from Reigate, England, that's in the London area, former Formula One driver, in his second season in IndyCar competition, in his second Indianapolis 500, said he wanted to come back because he wanted to show that he could do it right. Wanted another crack at it, is the quote from Chilton. I asked him the other day what he learned last year. He said how to time a pass, when to pass, and how to get the front of that car right down to the bottom line to get some air on the nose so you could make that pass on the straightaway.
And he should have added how to lead the race with only 50 laps to go. He's doing one heck of a job right now.
More on the 8 from Rick.
Yeah, I talked with his crew chief just a little while ago, his strategist, Julian Robertson, and I asked the big question, which is, are you going to be able to make it with just one more stop? And he looked at me and said, we're going to need a lot of yellow. By the way, an interesting fact about Max Chilton, the first time he ever watched an entire Indy 500 was last year when he did it through his visor.
Yeah, he had a pretty good view, I think.
No doubt the other person that was probably watching that race is his brother Tom, who still lives in England and races some touring car races over there. So if they weren't big IndyCar fans before this, they certainly are now.
How about this third place positioning for James Davison, 30-year-old from Melbourne, Australia, originally, now living in Denver. He's a third-generation racer. He was here at the Speedway without a ride. He's run it a couple times before, but he was here. And it sounds kind of dark to say, but in case someone needed a driver or had what they call a short program, where someone has an extra car that they suddenly decide to enter late. That doesn't happen often these days, as he's got to run for second place on Kimball.
And Kimball's forcing him to the outside.
Oh,
and he made it.
So nice, my
perfect.
goodness. Downshifted in the middle of the turn, so he had some speed to come out of the turn. And I think he just served notice that, hey, you're not going to shove me to the high side and make me not be able to pass you.
Now, if he finds himself in that position at the end of the race, he knows that he can make it happen. And Kimball's been pushed back to third. And here comes Castroneves, the only driver in the field that if he wins this Indy 500 will be the fourth person to have won it 4 times.
So all of the caution flags that we've had have made it basically a one-stop race for everyone from here to the finish. So these people like Chilton and his team and the Ganassi team for Kimball and Davison with Dale Coyne Racing and so on, they have been able to engineer some track position, and circumstances have fallen their way where they're now able to try and take advantage of it. The guys that have been the dominant leaders on the day, well, Hunter Ray blew up. He's out of the race, waiting to hear from him. Alonso got shuffled back on that last restart. There you see him back in line in the papaya orange McLaren colored car. That's in 9th place. And Rossi had the problem on his pit stop. He's way back.
So we've reshuffled everything right now.
Totally reshuffled the deck. How about it, Jan?
I think those first 2 cars, for example, you see Fernando Alonso trying to work his way through. The top 2 cars may show on the screen as only having one more stop. I think that's going to be really difficult to do. I do not expect Max Chilton or James Davison to make it without yellow. But right behind is the next group, which I talked about, those who stopped on 139. Kimball is in that group as well. So Castroneves on down, I think are fine. The top 3, 2, 3, I don't think so at this point.
So what you're saying is that Castroneves is the one with the best chance of winning the race.
Well, we will see how the circumstances play out. There's your leaderboard. Did you call that one before the start of the race? Maybe the guy in fourth.
The 101st Indianapolis 500 telecast on ABC, presented by Firestone. Firestone, whatever you drive a Firestone.
Members of the 101st Airborne bringing in the checkered flags as part of the pre-race ceremonies today. Who will it wave over first? Someone's slowing there on the inside of the back straightaway as we continue under green with Max Chilton leading this race. And 39 laps to go. Next weekend, doubleheader on ABC, Verizon IndyCar Series in the Detroit Grand Prix from the beautiful road course in Belle Isle Park in Detroit. We're on the air at 3:30 Eastern Time, both Saturday and Sunday next weekend. That was Spencer Piggott who was slowing the 11 car. He's had some troubles at different times throughout the day. Ed Carpenter has also been back on pit road just now. All right, how about if we take you up to speed as the position changes there. That's Kimball dropping back a spot and Davison moving up. They have swapped that back and forth, maybe working together to save a little fuel in the situation. All right, start with the leader. Up to speed with Rick.
Max Chilton, that's the guy who's leading the race right now, one of the Ganassi stable. Now, they're still very concerned about fuel. They believe they're going to have to save more. But he says his key in racing is patience. He says he's great at patience, and I think it's going to have to pay off right here because he's got to figure out a way to save fuel as much as possible. Jan?
And Rick, for James Davison right behind. Yes, he just picked up a position, but they called him on the radio and said, we are bailing on the strategy. To me, that means he does not in a position to save fuel and make one last stop. Now they're standing on the go pedal. Again, I believe the top three without yellow will not make it. Rick?
Well, in fact, Charlie Kimball is in third, and I was just talking with his strategist, Scott Harner, a moment ago, and I asked, are you going to be able to make it at this point? And he said, nope, not enough. So they have to have more yellow flag if they stand a chance of making it on the strategy they've got right now. Jan?
And of course, what that does is that leaves this man right here, the driver of number 3, trying to get his 4th Indianapolis 500. It leaves him in the catbird seat if there's no yellow. If it stays green, he is the virtual leader of the group of people who stopped on 139. And a day when he went underneath a car flying through the air, he's got a shot at winning this one. Doc?
And could this be the day that the sun finally shines on J.R. Hildebrand? Who can forget the 2011 race when he had it won, or he thought, 300 yards from the checkered flag, and the car goes into the wall. Today, the car's gotten better and better. They've made front changes for understeer. They'll make one more stop, hopefully make the car a little bit quicker. Jan?
They've been calling Ed Jones on the radio and say, of course, he's a teammate to James Davison. They've been saying, you have to do better on fuel. We need better fuel. So along with his teammate, they're not quite where they want him to be at this point.
Oriol Servia does not have to save fuel at all. He is on the same strategy as Oriol Castro Neves. I just went and checked with his crew chief. Servia was not happy with the car at first. In fact, he went backwards at the beginning of the race, but he's been happy with the car ever since. So he is on good to go for the rest of this race. And we understand Max Chilton is coming on to pit lane. So Max Chilton coming out. We know he has to have that last pit stop. The question now is, will he be able to go from lap 167 all the way to the end? Well, I can tell you, Alexander Rossi did it last year. He just got to figure out how to do it this year. Max Chilton brings the car in. Once again, got to do it just right. You don't want to waste any more time than is necessary for this pit stop. No adjustments. They're going to send him back out. Now, can he go the rest of the way? We're about to find out.
Charlie Kimball in smoke. Caution flag is out.
That's engine number 2.
All right, bring it on down here.
Zach Veach is also off the pace in the A.J. Foyt Racing 40 car. Well, we saw it earlier with Ryan Hunter-Reay. Now we'll see it with Charlie Kimball.
Going down the straightaway, almost the same scenario as Ryan Hunter-Reay. Go for Charlie Kimball all the time, who used to always watch this race on television at home with his father in California. Now here with the number 3 on board. You can see straight ahead, and the oil comes up onto the screen. of our onboard camera, and that goes all over the driver's visor on your helmet, so tough to see once a motor is blown in front of you.
That cannot be fun for Castroneves to see that at those kind of speeds. So the pit stop for Max Chilton, because he was the leader when he came off the pit lane, he did stay on the lead lap with that pit stop. So question for them will be, you know, they'll probably stay out here. They'll go back up to the lead, hope that they get another caution deep enough in that it brings other people onto pit road or allows them to save enough fuel to find a way to make it to the finish. I guarantee you that car is being clutched, coasted, pushed on full save right now.
And a lot of that depends on how long this yellow is.
Well, exactly. You know, when you talk about maybe making 30 laps on a tank full of fuel, then I got to think that enough yellow flags, even in this segment here, he might be good to the end.
Pit road is open. And there are two safety trucks right there as the field's coming to pit road. They stop, get out of the way. Jan, here they are.
Of course, James Davidson will be the first to stop, having one of the last pit boxes. We'll keep an eye on Castroneves as well. Davidson, again, running heavy downforce. Castroneves, I will have to say, anyone who stops now, Doc, this is going to be somewhat of a fuel economy run to the end.
Exactly, J.R. Hildebrand. They were talking on the radio a moment ago, so we're listening, talking about trimming the rear downforce. They said, yeah, we're going to trim it. No, we're not. Yes, we are. And 3 seconds ago, they said, no, no, no. Leave it alone. 4 tires, Sunoco fuel. Get it full. Get it full. Either way.
Getting down to the business end of the day at the Indianapolis 500. Helio Castroneves is going to pick up the lead on the exchange of pit stops, or at least he'll be first off the pit lane. Restart coming with 29 laps to go in the Indianapolis 500. Our telecast presented by Firestone. Max Chilton is the leader. And one of the storylines starting the day was the Honda versus Chevrolet manufacturer fight. These manufacturers pour their hearts and souls, and not to mention millions of dollars, into competing and trying to win the Indianapolis 500. Honda has had a lot of the time out in front in the lead today and all of the month the headlines. But there has been a little bit of a reliability issue, that a price to be paid for that extra oomph under the engine cover.
And there's always a risk when you put that extra oomph in, and obviously the endurance here is paying a price for it. But we have quite a few Hondas left, and we have 30 laps to go.
That's right. Max Chilton, the leader, starts to accelerate. Green flag with 29 laps to go. There's Castroneves.
Oh.
Slicing and dicing.
Ma'am, all that courtesy passing is out of the window right now. That was a very aggressive, I'm not going to take no as an answer pass.
No, some people are thinking about maybe looking at the grass right now.
Alonso is all the way back in 9th position.
This is what we talked about, Eddie. When you get to the last 20, 30 laps of this race, the race changes, the complexion changes, the pace picks up. We walk right along there for a second with Helio. You can see what his vantage point is. Now looking forward to the 19 of Ed Jones. What a great job he's done here this month.
Absolutely. The 22-year-old, originally from England, now living in Dubai, been there for some time. In his first try at the Indy 500, just gets passed by the the guy trying to win it for
on the outside. On the outside going into 3.
But a smart move by Ed Jones, because he knew that he was going to get past, didn't try to make it confrontational, and just sits back and learns, and maybe has a shot at him coming down to turn 1.
Now, here's somebody else climbing back into the picture. That blue and white car is Takuma Sato. Remember, Sato was up fighting for the lead earlier in the race. They dropped the wheel nut on a pit stop. He went all the way back to 16th and has had a hard time digging out of that hole all race long, especially through all the caution flags we've had. Here he is in 4th.
And Sato is one of those drivers, Scott, that is fearless. You put him in that position that he was in, in with Frank Keedy.
Yep.
I don't think he's going to back off the second time.
Here's Fernando Alonso picking up a spot on James Davison.
I've been watching this battle between Fernando Alonso and Tony Kanaan, who sits just ahead of him. He's not been able to find a way around.
Helio holds on. And Ed Jones.
Side by side, that's so difficult. Folks, that's at about 215 to 18 miles an hour in the middle of the turn.
Perfect driving by Jones and Castroneves. And now here comes another player.
That's Sato.
That's Sato. Remember we said the courtesy goes out the window?
And Oriol Servia takes advantage of Sato having to check up. And the veteran from Spain has got it wheeling in the closing laps.
Everybody in the top 10 thinks they have a chance at winning this, and they do. Fernando's got to start passing cars.
Ooh, Simon Pagenaud took a peek inside. And that checkup is going to cost him a spot. There goes Juan Pablo Montoya in the 22 around Pagenaud in that Neon 1 car.
In turning into turn 2, which is probably one of the most difficult passes you can make.
Sato and Servia. Takuma back to 4th.
Sato has Castroneves in his sights.
Eddie, you know this part of the race, this is where you grab the steering wheel just a little bit tighter. You're more reluctant to take your foot off the gas. And this is the battles that we see right now.
Alonso outside of turn 1.
Oh, that was magnificent.
And he's going outside of turn. No, he doesn't. He calls it a day.
Well, that will kill his speed a little bit by trying to make that extra pass. We'll see if he gets past going down the straight now.
And Chilton continues to lead. Sato is all over Castroneves.
These last laps have been averaging just over 220 miles an hour.
Now Castroneves is trying to pass the car ahead of him, but he has Sato all over him, so he doesn't know whether to drive defensively or offensively.
Amazed how they all snake down to cover that inside line, going down to the grass.
Must be impressed with the job that Ed Jones has done in that 19 car, fighting these veterans. Here comes Castroneves to his outside. He's got to run this time, but last time Jones fought him on the inside.
They're both committed, and Castroneves makes it around him.
Takuma Sato.
Amazing Sato.
Castroneves has to grab a hold of Sato's draft.
Sato closing in on Chilton for the race lead. Kanaan and Alonso.
Alonso finally finds a secret.
Oh, Montoya with a run on Davison, who checked up to avoid Kanaan.
This is no time for trying passes. You have to commit to every pass that you try.
Here's Sato looking outside. Yellow flag, car in trouble.
Alonso's
it's Alonso.
engine. Alonso's engine is broken.
Stop, man.
Well,
so sorry, man.
You can feel the frustration from here.
And that was team owner Michael Andretti on the radio. So sorry, man.
I would say this as he unfastens. He acquitted himself very well in his first try at the Indy 500.
In the car and out of the car.
Yes. He had to do a lot of things that a Formula One driver's not used to doing, publicity-wise and so on, and he did it.
Listen to the public. That is a racer. He put all of his Formula One prestige on the line and came and raced it here at Indy and gave it one heck of a run.
Fernando Alonso today has had the fastest average lap time in the race.
It's not shocking.
Still there.
That's when he was trying to outside move. Almost got that completed.
Closing on you.
Down the
One
back stretch.
Now. On your box, looking on the outside. Can we look at, gonna pop? Get outside, 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 outside. Clear, clear.
Great information from the spotter there. To the front stretch, and let's listen. This is where it happens.
No warning.
Here's the descent lane here.
Well, not the walk he hoped to be taking, but again, really impressed with the pace, with the execution, with the attitude, with the openness that Fernando Alonso has shown here at Indianapolis.
Everybody in the grandstands hopes he comes back again. A true champion.
All right, so here we are with 19 laps to go now. The driver running first and the driver running second
have Hondas.
Both have the same thing under the engine cover as the ones that have had difficulty.
And the next one behind him is a fellow called Helio Castroneves.
Looking for his 4th win in the 500.
And he has been trying to do it for 8 Indy 500s.
Now here's the thing about the Chevy Honda thing, right? They got a lot of engines in this race. They're not all going to go. And these two at the front might be the two that don't. I mean, think about the odds and the numbers. Let's not make it out to be that, you know, I mean, they've had a couple of problems with a step up in performance. These cars were all leading or contending for the lead in the race when they've had problems. But somebody's going to make it.
With engines like these that are pure thoroughbred race engines, when you gain 10 horsepower, there's always a price someplace you have to pay. And it's unfortunate it happened right in the middle of the Indy 500. What a beautiful circuit.
So the 1 to go signal being given now, and that means we'll restart with 17 laps to go in this 500. One of the stories of the race at this point, Ryan Hunter-Reay running 3rd at the time. Had a chance to win. Charlie Kimball running up front. And now Fernando Alonso.
This remains the hardest 500 miles a race engine will ever run.
So you look at the fact that there are still a lot of Honda badged cars up in this top 10, and like I said, I'm coming back to my odds thing, and you know, yep, they've had a few failures, but they still have the variety, the majority of the top 10 at this point, and they're not all going to go. Max Chilton is the race leader.
And we're probably okay to the end, but we don't know for sure until we've run a bit. We might need to do a hair of fuel saving. Everyone's in the same boat. So just go as fast as you can. There's 19 laps to go, and it's the Indy 500.
Go for it.
I completely agree. It's all or nothing.
17 laps to go. Green flag, and they get right after it. Jones to the outside of Sato. He gives way. Oh, trouble! Into the wall! And many more involved. James Hinchcliffe, Will Power, James Davison, Oriol Servia.
Boy, we've said this a few times today, yellow breed yellows, and when you come closer to the end, nobody's going to give an inch on the racetrack, and just one small amount of contact doesn't take much before it starts something like this.
I'd like to add one thing.
You're having a good ride today, James. We're proud of you. We're proud of you. We were proud to race with you today.
I'd like to add one thing. We're always talking about saving fuel. Every lap that is under yellow is that much more of a chance, Alan, for a Honda engine that might be close to the limit of making it.
There's Oriol Servia extracting himself from his car. Boy, what a great drive he had today. Joseph Newgarden looking for a push start. I don't believe he hit anything, just spun around to avoid piling in. There's Will Power out of his car. So a big mess in turns 1 and 2 has collected 4 cars and a 5th spun.
There's the contact right there that starts. It looks like Oriol Servia right down on the white line. And just at that point in time starts to lose control, and you see the 18, James Davidson, getting taken out at the same time. I mean, both those guys just in this event for the one race, both did a tremendous job here today. But we talk about as you get closer to the end, restarts or competing. Eddie, you know I've talked about this before because we've raced so many of these races. You don't give an inch anytime you go into a turn. That's exactly what the result was here.
And that was literally a question of probably 5-6 inches.
Did you see how that rear wheel guard came across the top of Servia's car? Wow.
Just in front of the cockpit.
That's about $1 million of damage going by on the screen. Now the drivers that are behind have literally nowhere to go, and they can't even see where they're going.
Stuck through there.
He really does. I saw that in the previous one. Always seems to find a perfect way to get through it.
Joseph Newgarden. Take it back. He did hit something.
But it looked like it's even. And it's on the left-hand side. 5.
Get low. Forward brake.
James Hinchcliffe. That's CK here.
Oh, so much experience. Out of it, bails out of it. He should have been involved in that, but his experience, he took his foot off the gas.
Will Power.
Yellow.
You see, everybody takes their hands off the steering wheel there. Oh. As you said, Eddie almost got through there. Oh. And that's how loud it is in the car, too, isn't it, when we do that?
So, a lot of cleanup going on over in turn number 2 after a 5-car accident. We're down to 15 laps to go in the Indianapolis 500, and we have a lot to be decided as of yet. They're picking them up and carting them away at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in the final laps of the 101st Indy 500. The cars of Oriol Servia and James Davison being hauled back after a 5-car wreck in turn 1 that came on a restart with 17 laps to go. Serbia, Davison, the first contact.
Yeah, when crashes look as destructive as that is a good thing, because all the energy is being absorbed by all the pieces on the car. So the energy doesn't get transferred to the center cockpit there where the driver sits.
Nasty stuff. So the cleanup is all these cars, 5 cars involved in the wreck, and a lot of debris from the accident is consuming some laps that are left in this race. Likely erasing any fuel concerns from the top cars to get to the finish. And then look at this leaderboard and who's going to fight it out to the checkered flag. Look at some of the names on the leaderboard now.
Max, I think, is very strong. They haven't been able to touch him the last 10 laps.
Well, when I look at that list, I look at how many first-time winners could be actually in that grouping. That is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Look at Takuma Sato. He came so close to winning it that year with Franchitti. Ed Jones has been strong the whole time. Helio Castroneves with a Penske. He doesn't have a reliability problem. JR came 1 corner from winning.
All right, so while they continue to clean up, Dr. Jerry Punch.
And Fernando Alonso has come out of his bus. Ryan Hunter-Reay comes over, obviously sharing disappointment. Fernando, how much warning did you get when we heard the noise and the car began to slow?
Yeah, only on that moment, to be honest. You know, I felt the noise, the engine friction, and then I back off and I saw the smoke on the exhaust, and yeah, it's a shame. I think we deserve at least to finish the race and to experience the day lap and all the things, but who knows which position we could be.
I don't know if you could hear the fans, but 300,000 standing and screaming and cheering the performance you put on the day when you climbed out of the car. How would you evaluate your drive today in the Indy 500?
I mean, the whole day has been a very nice experience, you know, from the very beginning, from the presentation and then the racing. The racing was fun, it was nice, and I think the performance was good. We were up there leading the race for a couple of laps, and on the red flag we were leading the race. So a very nice surprise to come here with these big names, big guys, the best on oval racing, and be able to be competitive.
You put yourself out there to come here, learn to be an oval track racer, race in this event. You could have won this race. Will you think about coming back?
Yeah, obviously, you know, it's very early, just finished this one, but I feel competitive. If I come back, I come back with something that I know how it will feel, so it will be easier the second time than what it has been this one. So really good fun. Thanks to all IndyCar, thanks to Indianapolis, thanks to the fans, because this has been one of the best experiences in my career.
Fernando, thank you for a great show today. We look forward to having you back.
Thank you.
Alan?
So Alonso acquitted himself very well to us. We're getting ready for the restart. Some news to pass along. J.R. Hildebrand is running 5th. When the green flag waves, he will be given a penalty for jumping the prior restart by the stewards. Chilton, Sato, Jones, Castroneves, green flag, 11 laps to go.
Sato lost a little bit trying to pass Chilton at the entrance to 1.
Coming up for a bid on 3rd, Castroneves looking to the outside of the rookie Ed Jones, and he's got him into the corner.
Now Sato has to worry about Castroneves.
10 laps to go. Here's Sato again with another run on Chilton. Too late in the straightaway.
Passes that are done here are usually arranged the previous turn. So in turns 3 and 4, if you want to pass down in 1, then the opposite. Because if you don't try and do it going into a turn 2 or 4, you just never get it accomplished.
Everything is so close now. You cannot lift off. If you do, because you make a mistake in a pass, you'll get passed by 3 other cars.
So this is where he needs to stop looking and just set himself coming out of 4 to get a draft going down the front stretch, and then pass into 1 if he can do it.
Chilton is doing everything he can to stop him on the outside.
Here comes Sato for the race lead into 1, side by side. Chilton keeps his foot in it, holds him off.
Chilton knows what line to take at this point. Everybody's tried that. I've seen it 3 or 4 times, and he maintains the lead.
Now Castroneves, can he get a run on Sato for second? Outside. And he's got him.
Great job, great job.
What an amazing pass.
Yes.
300,000 jump to their feet and roar as the 3-time winner takes a run at Max Chilton, the race leader.
See, Castroneves was smart, didn't try it in 1. He'll get the speed coming out of 2. Hopefully a draft down the backstretch. This is experience.
He can't afford to try a pass and then have to lift. And here is Sato back in the picture. Let's see if Chilton's line works again. And it does.
Previously, we've seen all the passes going into 1 because they usually have a headwind coming down the front stretch. Right now, because of the windsock and the way the wind is working, you have wind coming onto your car coming out of 3. That allows these guys to be able to commit to the pass.
Got to run here. Chilton stays in it.
He's got it.
Castroneves to the race lead. For second place, Sato inside of Chilton, giving Castroneves a little breathing room. Sato with a big run here. Takuma Sato to the lead.
We still have 5 laps to go.
Chilton has lost 3rd spot to Ed Jones.
Stay focused.
You've got to think Sato was feeling every vibration in that engine, every change of sound, anything different. After this lap, he has 4 to go, only 4 laps to go.
Sato, the 40-year-old from Tokyo. Remember in 2012, racing Dario Franchitti for the win. He went for it. Didn't work out. The car spun on him, and Franchitti won. But Sato back in the control of this race, but he's still got 3 and change laps to go with the 3-time winner Castroneves trying to find a way back to him. Good run here for Elio.
In the past, the best position to be is second place with 1 or 2 laps to go.
But we know that Honda seems to have just a little bit more power, a little bit more speed when you're running in a battle like this. But Elio's doing all the correct things, following in the draft perfectly.
The worst thing that can happen for Castroneves is if Jones gets on his tail and forces him to drive defensively.
221.6 miles an hour last lap.
2 to go.
He's going to try the outside again. Nope.
Can't get it done there because the wind does not work with you. It has to be down the other end.
And Jones has closed the gap on Castroneves.
A lap and a half to go for Takuma Sato. He's won once in IndyCar Series competition. Former Formula One driver. Had one getaway a few years ago. Now he's going to see the white flag, and he's opened up a little bit of a gap on Castroneves. 1 lap to go in the Indy 500.
White flag. Keep hustling.
Castroneves tries to close, Sato tries to defend. 2 corners until the checkered flag.
Still clear by 2.
The one that got away comes back to him. Checkered flag is in the air, and the 101st Indianapolis 500 is won by Takuma Sato. The team owner, Michael Andretti, with his 5th win as an owner in this race, including 3 of the last 4. Takuma Sato is about as pleasant a guy as you'll talk to. Always polite, always smiling. And today he's going to smile as he kisses a brick as the winner of the Indy 500. Rick.
Well, Michael Andretti, first off, back-to-back wins, but let's talk about the emotions of today. You had drivers who were leading, fell out, and now you win the race. Are you shocked?
I'm in shock. I'm in shock. I'll tell you, because like you said, we had such good cars and they were all just falling to the side, and Takuma came through, man. He's awesome. I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy for Ruoff Mortgages that came on for this race, and oh my God, I can't believe it.
All right, now we know you've got Honda engines. The ones that survived have done great, but how is it that Andretti is able to win these 500s race after race?
We work really, really, really hard on this race. We focus on it a lot, and having all those cars out there, gaining all that information helps a lot, and in the end, we have great people on this team, and they're the ones that got this win, as well as Takuma. He drove unbelievable.
All right, Michael Andretti, go celebrate. Congratulations. Andretti in victory circle.
celebrant. Always brings so much joy and hope. Always such a shows great humility, and there he is. He has earned it. What a great ride by Takuma Sato. Fort Piper's playing. The milk standing by. As we look forward to all those great traditions. Look at victory lane started back in 1956. It's all on in 56. Of course, Louis Meyer actually started well after the 1936 race. We're standing by here for the new champion.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, your 2017 winner of the Indianapolis 500, Takuma Sato. There are few celebrations in sports as steeped in tradition as this one. First, the victory wreath. The Firestone hat is already there. Next comes the ceremonial sip of milk and salute to the fans. And now the kiss from the Indy 500 princess. We will walk in, he gets a big hug, and he's gonna dive into his crew here. Oh my gosh, what an impressive run. Takuma, you did it. You did it, my friend. Describe this moment.
Unbelievable feeling. Oh, I can't thank enough to the whole team. Look at this, guys. Fabulous show. My grand routines, my goals. 100 euro sports, and everyone, and of course, for home mortgage, just broke in a prime sponsor, Panasonic, Honda, Firestone, fantastic.
You battled one of the all-time veterans in Helio Castroneves those final 4 or 5 laps. He passed you. Then with 3 to go, you passed him back. Take us back through that move. Here's Michael Andretti. Oh my gosh. How about that for joy? Take us back about the move of passing Helio.
It was obviously the tough race, but Helio really drive fair, really fair. So I can trust him. I can really coming from outside, and a fantastic race. Hopefully, crowd enjoyed it.
In 2012, you came so close with Dario. You didn't get to finish. What did you learn that day that helped you win it today?
Well, this time I'm pointing right direction at someone, didn't I? So it's beautiful. You know, I grabbed something I left over in 2012, and thanks everyone. I can't thank enough to everyone's support.
They say this racetrack, she chooses who wins. At what point today, at what point in those final laps did you think, I've been chosen, it's me today?
Well, really, until 3 laps to go, we really didn't know. And when Helio come to the side-by-side 3 laps to go, that was the moment you got to go for it on a flat. And we did it, and we pulled away, and it's fantastic.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, your 2017 Indy 500 champion, Takuma Sato.
His best finish in the race had been 13th. Now he celebrates being the 71st driver to win the Indianapolis 500-mile race. The Andretti Motor Autosport team knows what it's like. It's one of the reasons Sato signed there this year. And it's paid off. In victory in the Indianapolis 500. Back after this message and a word from your ABC station. Back live at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, Sunoco presents the unofficial results of the 101st Indianapolis 500-mile race. Takuma Sato picks up the win. Wow, what a thrilling race Helio Castroneves gave us. And how about Ed Jones finishing 3rd in his first try?
You know, you look at the top right there, and so many different teams are up in the top 3. Really impressive, as you mentioned, with Ed Jones, a rookie for Dale Coyne Racing.
Last one on the lead lap was J.R. Hildebrand after that late penalty, and you're going to see a lot of out because of the crashes we had and some of the engine problems that some of the teams had.
There were a lot of outs today. I think Ed would have stood a good chance of doing well at the end, but he got caught up in something that stopped his race also.
Helio Castroneves, second again. Jan?
Yes, and he embraces with his family here for the first time, and obviously it's a tough blow for a family, but you got out of the car, Helio, with a huge smile. I know you were just that close to your 4th Indy 500. Did you think it was going to be yours when you first got by Max Chilton?
I'll tell you what, this is what makes me smile, you know, my little girl here, and congratulating me. First of all, thank you, fans. You guys are awesome. This place is unbelievable. I really enjoy to come over here, obviously, and I want to give the 4th to everyone. Don't get me wrong, I'm trying, but unfortunately, you guys saw it was a little bit too hard with the power, and Chevy did a great job in lasting the 500, but unfortunately, it was just a little too short. Congrats to Taco-san. He did a phenomenal race. He bumped me a couple of times. I was like, man, his car was not breakable, but I really thought we had it because even when I try, I said, okay, plan good. Now my car is going to get momentum again, and unfortunately, it's just I couldn't do it. I tell you what, I think I bent the throttle so hard, and but great team effort. Shell Fuel Reward card, it was really good, back and forth, back and forth. I thought we were going to give a discount tomorrow for whoever going to pump the, in Shell gas station would have 5 cents a gallon, but sorry, next year then.
Well, let's talk about the fact that it's actually a miracle that you were fighting for the win. You went underneath a flying Scott Dixon in that crash. What did you think at that moment?
Well, when I saw the 77 going to the wall, I knew he would bounce back. I didn't think he would bounce back that hard with Scott. When I saw Scott flipping, I just tried to avoid this. Thank God I had okay, something's going to happen. But I didn't think it would be so fast, so I jump in. I mean, honestly, I don't know how I hold on, but I guess the guy upstairs hold on. But as soon as I heard, I think I broke something, my front wing, my back, the back of the winglets. I'm like, oh, come on, my car was so good. But you know what? Didn't affect. Car was a little bit better, and great team effort. I want to thank, obviously, Jonathan Doogie for an amazing car, my entire group number 3, and the entire team Penske. We work together, we fight together. Today was my day of the team Penske. Unfortunately, Taco-san had the better end.
And fans, of course, enjoyed it. Thank you, Helio. Every time he made a move, the fans, certainly on the front stretch, went crazy. Rick?
Well, we've been talking all month about this rookie here at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We've been focused on the guy named Fernando Alonso. This is the guy they should have been paying attention to, Ed Jones. And we got to talk about a couple things that happened during this race. First off, you came really close to getting caught up in that first incident with Scott Dixon, and you actually had damage to your car. What happened?
Yeah, I ran over a lot of debris. Actually put a hole in the floor, and yeah, it damaged our rear wing. So we had to come in, replace that. That sent us back to the back of the field, made the race a lot more difficult. But we kept pushing on, kept making positions, and I had a great Dale Coyne racing car underneath me the whole way, which allowed me to make those passes. We were really fortunate with the yellow at the end, which kept us at the front. But yeah, it was really tough. Yeah, congrats to Sardo. I didn't quite have the pace for him or Helio at the end there, but we did the best we could.
I was going to say, you really did a great job of staying in it, and towards the end, as you had a look at Helio, was there just nothing there? Why is it you weren't able to pull that off?
I think those guys trimmed out quite a bit, because even in the draft, I was struggling to stay up with him. He's still pulling away, so yeah, I think those guys must have trimmed out at the end, and we didn't quite have the straight line speed.
Once again, Ed Jones finishing third, the top rookie, and think about what a month it's been for the Dale Coyne team with Sebastian Bourdais' accident, James Davidson's accident today, but this is the high point of the month for these guys.
And without question, the 22-year-old from Dubai finishing third today. Takuma Sato will be on SportsCenter later on tonight with Lindsay Zarniak as the Sunday Conversation subject. SportsCenter tonight on ESPN after Sunday Night Baseball with Bucci and Anderson. All the highlights of the day, including that Sunday Conversation with Taku. We have more to come from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway as the celebration is just getting underway. What a great race. Takuma Sato won it. Now, Takuma Sato is your winner of the Indianapolis 500. Here is our Firestone moment of the race, the winning pass on Helio Castroneves.
Done on the outside in a very difficult corner that ate up a bunch of race cars today.
And And checkered flag's always a pretty good moment of the race, too, and you're the first one that it waves over, for sure. And if you think about this, Sato, our Firestone durable driver of the race, just before midway, they had a problem on a pit stop that kicked him all the way to the back of the lead group. He was running 16th, and as we saw today during the race, passing in traffic was difficult. Those first few cars could seem to dice it up pretty well, but passing when you were back in the field seemed to be a lot harder. It took him a long time to recover from that, but he endured, pun intended, durable driver of the race, and is now celebrating in the winner's circle.
And one word for that, patience. If he didn't have a patient driver, he probably would have crashed trying to get up towards the front. So, Alan, he did a terrific job.
Let's check with Doc.
Been a bit of a celebration here for Max Chilton. His father, Graham Chilton, come down, give him a big hug. Roger Penske came by, Dario Franchitti. Let's talk about this effort today. The final 7 or 8 laps, where did your car become so strong all of a sudden late in the race?
It came strong as soon as I got out in front, which was probably 50 or 60 laps before the end, and I knew I was strong out in front, and we knew that all week. I just struggled hugely in dirty air. So starting 15th, we just dropped back, and after the first stint, I was over a lap behind, and you know, I had a couple of things go away. You need the luck here to win, and they did, and they got me out in front. I had the car to do the job. The issue was the second and third cars could tow each other up to me and get past me. If they didn't have a car to work with, I think I would have stayed out in front like I did for a lot of the race, because no one seemed to be able to draft up to me.
Max Chilton, an impressive run today, finishing 4th for Chip Ganassi. Jan.
And Doc, one of the first things that Tony Kanaan said when he got out of the car is, I had a lot of fun out there. And especially early on, you were very racy, aggressive, but you said something happened to the car?
Yeah, we ran over the debris after one of the crashes on the back straightaway, and it broke a piece of the underwing and the cooling on the right side of the car. So that alone, if you didn't have a perfect car today, you're not going to win the race. But I have to say, man, what a great event. For the first time in my life, Jan, all 16 years, when I took the lead this time, for some reason, I was actually able to hear the crowd, and that made my day. So I want to thank my sponsors, NTT, Bryant, Comfort Revolution, for the opportunity, and we'll come back next year.
All right, great run for Tony Kanaan.
Thanks, Sean. Remember 2012 when Takuma Sato went for it and lost and ended up crashing? Dario Franchitti won the race. Well, Dario in victory lane to congratulate Taku on getting his Indianapolis 500 win. We're back to the Brickyard after this from your ABC stations. Another one of the race traditions here at the Indianapolis 500, the convertible ride around this massive speedway so all the fans in the grandstand can have a look at the driver they just watched win the biggest race in the world. Well, so many storylines, so many things happened over the course of a day. As we begin to wind down today, what's the one thing that struck you most in this Indy 500?
What a beautiful display of hunger, courage, and ability between those two drivers the last 10 laps. There couldn't have been 3 inches between them.
You know, for me, I have to think about, usually we've seen the Indianapolis 500 dominated by one team. Today, 4 different teams in the top 4. Honda, Chevrolet, when you look at it, so competitive this series right now, the most competitive in the world.
Now, what a day it was here in Indianapolis. A look back at some of the events that happened quarter way into the race. A terrifying crash when Jay Howard got into the wall, and as he came across the track, Scott Dixon hit it, took flight, slammed with the top of the car into the fence and the bottom up on the top of the guardrail. He barely escaped what could have been a devastating crash. He walked away.
But what a testament to the amazing engineering of Dallara and the safety of the circuit. He was very lucky, but the car did everything and more than you could expect it to do. When you do a simulation of an accident, you would never imagine something as bad as this.
Hitting down on the top of that guardrail like that. And Castroneves, you see there, went under Dixon's flying car and came back to finish second. Fortunately for Scott, he was okay. Ryan Hunter-Reay had one of the best cars in the race, but is an illustration of another storyline.
Well, you know, I watched him all month, and he was so strong, especially in traffic. My pick to win the race this morning. Very disappointed to see him out because I think he had a great shot. It was an engine situation. The same thing with Fernando Alonso,
who acquitted himself quite well in his first try at an oval track race.
He genuinely had fun today.
Yeah. There was a huge crash near the end of the race, kind of a caution-filled late stages. This one swept up 5 cars when James Davison and Oriol Serbia tangled in turn 1 after a late restart, and others, including Hinchcliffe and Power and Newgarden, got involved. Listen to this.
This reminded me of the accidents that happened in Daytona.
Yeah, car after car keeps piling in. Takuma Sato and Helio Castroneves got by Max Chilton, who led a lot of the late stages of the race and put on a fabulous duel to the finish.
It was incredible. They went head-to-head, and in the end, Sato won the race that he felt that he lost in 2012.
I spoke to him the other day in the team garage. He said, it's the best car I've ever had here. I need to be patient, and he was, to come from the back up towards the front.
Overcame a mid-race problem to celebrate the win in the Indy 500. Some fun numbers for you. More drivers led this race, 15 leaders, than in any other 500, so that's a new record. We had 35 lead changes. We also had 50 laps of caution. That's a quarter of the race. Max Chilton wound up leading the most laps after Ryan Hunter-Reay went out. So for Takuma Sato, the takeaway from this, the one that got away comes back to him.
With a vengeance. It was wonderful. He beat Helio Castroneves, which was on his way to becoming the only 4th person in the world that won the Indy 4 times.
Yeah.
He made some unbelievable passes, and you could hear it when the race was over, his screaming in his helmet.
Yeah.
It was like somebody was attacking him in the helmet, the energy that just came out. How many times do you think he reimagined that end that he had with Franchitti in 2012?
You have to dream about winning, and I'm sure he was dreaming about winning this race here. For me, you know, we come to Indianapolis, we always think about Penske. Penske was very quiet this month. You know, Ganassi was up there doing a good job, obviously, with Dixon getting the pole, but Andretti comes back again. When you look at the last 5 years, you got to say that Andretti has been the prominent team here at Indianapolis.
So many stories at the beginning of this race, but the story that will be all over the world now, not just America, but the world, will be Sato wins Indianapolis, becoming the first 40-year-old since my pal Mr. Cheever to win the Indianapolis 500.
I was 40?
You don't even have to comment on that, do you?
So that makes you how old?
Yeah.
Never mind.
It's a long time ago.
Boy, what a fun race it was here at Indy, and thankfully, for the most part, a very safe race. Flying the flag of his home country as he is toured around the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and they begin to come down toward the Yard of Bricks, where the now traditional ceremony of kissing the bricks will unfold for Takuma Sato, Michael Andretti, and their team after winning the Indianapolis 500-mile race. You remember the call of Sato nearly winning the race a couple of years ago? Well, I expect we'll hear more of that as the celebration begins across the Pacific. For Honda, for the first Japanese driver to win the Indianapolis 500, Takuma Sato is celebrating right now. Don't forget, next weekend we've got 2 Verizon IndyCar Series races for you here on ABC, both Saturday and Sunday. The Detroit Grand Prix, 3:30 Eastern Time, both days. There'll be a lot of fun, and we hope that you'll be with us for that. What a day here at Indianapolis, and the celebration just beginning for 40-year-old Takuma Sato, your winner.
Drivers, start your engine.
11 rows of 3 ready to start the Indianapolis 500-mile race. What a huge crash.
It was definitely a wild ride.
Alonso's engine is broken.
1 lap to go in the Indy 500. And the 101st Indianapolis 500 is won by Takuma Sato.